Try this. I'm going over there by the wall.
Legislator Colby, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, we are already live on YouTube. So you can turn your camera off until the meeting starts if you want, just to
Thank
let you
you.
know, give you a heads up.
Sarah, this is Dave in the legislature. I just want to make sure that you can hear us.
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much. We can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry to bother you guys. This is the interpreter speaking again. My colleague that will be joining me can't seem to get in the meeting, so I was wondering if you could admit Jessie Felke. There she is. Beautiful. Thanks for your help.
Jesse, this is Dave in the legislature. I just want to make sure you can hear us in here.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The March 14th, 2023 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Alcoffer. Mr. Alcoffer is present. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart is present. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines is present. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby, you're muted.
It doesn't look muted. We can't hear him though.
We can see your video, but we can't hear you. I'll come back to him. Mr. Delahaney. Mr. Delahaney is present. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman is present. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio is present. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman is present. Mr. Hebert. Mr. Hebert is present. Ms. Hugh Smith. Ms. Hugh Smith is present. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. President Lamar.
Here.
President Lamar is present. Mr. Long. Mr. Long is present. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci is present. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe is present. Mr. Milne.
Present.
Mr. Milne is present. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is present. Ms. Roman. Ms. Roman is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Taylor. Ms. Taylor is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Ms. Vecchio. Ms. Vecchio is present. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present. And Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby.
Good, present.
Can see that he's present. Try to work on his audio. We did. It worked.
Okay, please stay seated. I would like to introduce Minister Clifford Florence of the Central Church of Christ, who has been invited by me to lead us in a moment of prayer.
Can we all stand together for prayer? Shall we pray? Eternal God, our righteous Father, we thank you for the privilege of calling on your holy and divine name. We ask that your presence may be visible in this place, a place that should lead by righteousness and justice. We pray that you give these body of leaders your understanding of what your people need here and now. We ask, oh God, that you would bless this city and this county. We have people of all stripes that need help, and these who are gathered here tonight have the power and the ability to change lives and situations. We pray, oh God, that each woman and man will have the will and the desire to move not only from a political or personal position, but government authority does not rest in the hands of women and men only. There must be a divine and human relationship to love our neighbor like we love ourselves. The disadvantaged, the oppressed of this county and this city. We pray that this body of leaders will really see the problems that face us. Would we erase the silos and the red lines, the racism that divides us from doing what is right? We pray, God, that we will understand that wrong ain't right and right ain't wrong. So we just ask now that you would lead us, those who have come to marshal the issues that affect them. We pray that we will join with them in the struggle of injustice. And the word says that justice must roll down like water and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. We need that stream to flow through Rochester, through Monroe County, through the state of New York, the United States of America, and the whole world. All of our help comes from you, and we'll be leaning on you even tonight as we honor a great man who has left us, Minister Franklin Florence. We pray that his vision to eradicate institutional and structural and individual racism can come true, that we may impact it in our lifetime to make changes where changes must be made. And that's now. It's in the precious and holy and powerful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who is our soon coming King, we lift up this prayer on faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Amen.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Legislator Colby.
Yes, I do. Do you hear me?
Please remain standing while Legislator DeFlorio leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Your copies of Day 2, February 14th, 2023 are available through Notice Agenda. Without exception, this journal will stand approved as submitted. Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on Notice Agenda as well. There are several proclamations scheduled for this evening. Mr. Clerk?
Would family members of Minister Franklin Florence please come forward? Also, President Sabrina Lamar.
Whereas the lives of influential individuals are fondly remembered, especially when they lived a life of love and compassion, it is not often that someone is able to spread this love to so many people. Such an individual lived their life for so much more than themselves, sharing their passion, wisdom, and faith with those that surround them. For some, this natural disposition becomes a life calling. And whereas Minister Franklin Delano Roosevelt Florence Sr. lived a selfless life, dedicated to supporting his family and serving the community. His endless passion was always felt outside of the family, as he was a dedicated and vital member of his community. He spent more than half a century as a hardworking member of the Rochester community, and whereas Minister Florence was born in 1934 in Miami, Florida. He moved to Rochester in 1959 with his wife and children to become the pastor of the Reynolds Street Church of Christ, and immediately became involved with efforts to improve the living conditions of Black people in Rochester. Minister Florence was in Miami in July 1964 when the Rochester uprising took place, but quickly returned to the city and led the fight for racial justice, becoming the founder and first president of the Fight organization. He took the anger and resentment felt by Rochester's Black community and built a positive movement for change. And whereas at a time when Kodak and Xerox were mostly closed to Black workers, Minister Florence fought to convince the companies to create job training programs in the Black community. He famously orchestrated a massive protest at the company's 1967 annual shareholder meeting in New Jersey. Shortly thereafter, Kodak agreed to begin training and hiring Black workers. Minister Florence and Xerox President Joseph Wilson agreed to terms with much less controversy. They also created Fight On, a company that manufactured components for Kodak, Xerox, and other companies. It later became known as Altrex Corporation. And whereas Minister Florence and Fight laid the groundwork for the formation of Action for a Better Community, the Anthony Jordan Health Center, Food Link, and radio station WDKX, Minister Florence fought for better education and housing for Rochester families. He also fought against police brutality and was an early advocate for civilian oversight of the Rochester Police Department. He built 2 housing complexes, one of them being Fight Village, which still stands today in Northeast Rochester. And whereas Minister Florence passed away on February 1st, 2023, he is survived by his wife, Mary, 4 children, and many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. He will be remembered as a dynamic personality and visionary leader and missed by all who loved him. Now, therefore, the Monroe County Legislature do hereby remember and honor Minister Franklin D. Florence, Sr. on his exemplary life of selflessness, family, and community. Presented on the 14th day of March, 2023.
I'd like to say good evening to everyone. I'll try that again. I'd like to say good evening to everyone. Good to see everyone. We certainly want to thank our president and members of this body to give us opportunity to honor a great man, not only to this community, but also as a wonderful father. We just are thankful for this privilege. I'd like to just leave one note of hope. The Central Church of Christ is your neighbor. We have been there for going on 53 years. I hope that in honor of my father, we can have relationship with this body and with the county executive. I'm here to stand where I wish my father was standing with me, to let you know that we have not had relationship with this body nor our county executive. And we hope that we can turn the page. We are honored for the symbolism of moving forward and being a community. But we as a family are tired of symbolism. We want action. And we want concrete honor, not only symbolically for my father. And I want to say a word that prayer should be offered for all of us, and particularly my mother as well, who is still alive. The county machine and the city machine has made a lot of commitments in honoring my father, but it's difficult to give honor where honor is due if we can't give honor that you can see, that you can touch, that you can feel. Yeah. I just want to leave this tidbit for the record, that we're going to work aggressively for the promises that were not kept to this family and honoring my father. I would hope that this body would want to work with us and support us. We hope that the county executive will work with us. And I want us to know that there is, no matter how we may be in denial of this, but institutional, structural, and individual racism is seriously dividing this state and this county and this city. And people in this city are suffering because we will not confront the silos and the barriers that we continue to put in front of ourselves not to be successful. And it was tough for me to walk into this building tonight to be reminded again of the pain that people live with from day to day. As we meet in this warm building tonight, as I was making my way from the church, there was a man who was standing by a steam pipe with a buggy and his belongings, and his name is Jerry. He lives outside of that building every day and every night. We minister to him where we can. We had a woman today who slept on our lawn at the church, and we were able to bring her in and to give her food and to let her get warm. And I believe that's a present day Jericho Road experience, because we see a lot of this across our county and city. I sure will. But I think it's important for us, in honoring my father, that we remember that he worked for the disadvantaged. Yeah. But not only did the disadvantaged win during the time of the 60s, but there are many of us who are living well also won because of the work that my father has done. So again, I want to thank you, along with my family, for honoring us. I hope that we will have the presence and support of our county executive and this body of leaders. And again, we want to say, on behalf of the Florence family, thank you for this evening, and thank you for the opportunity to go to God together in prayer. Thank you.
Would representatives from Meals on Wheels please come forward? Also, Legislator Jackie Smith and Tracy DeFlorio, and President Sabrina Lamar.
Whereas originally called the March for Meals, Meals on Wheels was a program started in 1972 by former President Richard Nixon. Its goal was to amend the Older Americans Act of 1965 to include a national nutrition program for seniors who are 60 years or older. This program was the start of what would become Meals on Wheels. And whereas Meals on Wheels has been serving the people of Monroe County and all over the country for over 20 years with professionalism, compassion, and a drive to help one's neighbor. They have provided services in the middle of the worst snowstorms, harvest heats, and a worldwide pandemic. More importantly, this program is not just about the meals, it's about caring for each other. Studies have shown that recipients had improved mental health, improved physical health, and reduced feelings of isolation. Without this critical service, our seniors wouldn't have the opportunity to stay in somewhere that they call home. And whereas aside from the multitude of accomplishments, services this program has made, it also provides safety checks for all recipients. This safety check accompanies every meal delivery and has proven to help them with some of the most important or easiest tasks. These actions have made everyone feel better about their loved one's care. And whereas for the month of March, the Meals on Wheels program should be recognized and appreciated for its years of service to others, not only just for our community here in Rochester, New York, but all over the country for its services to the most beloved members of the community, our loved ones. Now, therefore, we, Sabrina Lamar, President, Jackie Smith, Legislator District 2, and Tracy DeFlorio, Legislator District 3, on behalf of the Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize the month of March 2023 as Meals on Wheels Month in Monroe County.
Meals on Wheels would like to thank the legislator Jackie Smith and Tracy DeFloro for selecting us to receive this proclamation We also would like to thank all legislators and Monroe County Office for the Aging, especially Steve Newcomb, for your support. Monroe County Meals on Wheels program started in 1958. We are the third oldest Meals on Wheels in the country and have served over 12 million meals here in Monroe County. We love what we do, and we are thankful to be able to serve our community. Thank you very much for the proclamation and recognition to service in our community. Thank you.
Would Andrea Lista, Jarmila Hasseller, and Leslie Prude please come forward? Also, legislators Steve Brew and President Sabrina Lamar and County Executive Adam J. Bello.
Whereas dating back to the founding of Rochester, where our county's largest city received this nickname of Flower City, Monroe County has been home to a rich and thriving agricultural history. Today, agriculture continues to play a large role in the fabric of our community. And whereas currently there are over 33,000 farms and 6,900,000 acres of operated farmland in New York State, March signifies a national celebration of the importance of food and agriculture in the United States, as it is the source of products consumed and used daily. This month, we recognize and celebrate the diversity and abundance provided by New York's farms in our growing food and agricultural sector, and the contributions of Monroe County's family farmers. And whereas the agricultural industry in New York State contributes to more than $5.4 billion in agricultural sales to the New York economy each year, farmland occupies nearly 1/4 of New York State's land, providing access to fresh, locally sourced food, preserving open space, and enhancing community quality of life. And whereas preserving and growing our local agricultural community is important to the vibrancy of our local community and economy. Commemorating Agricultural Month will build awareness of the benefits of the agricultural industry in Monroe County and encourage young people to consider agriculture as a career. And whereas Monroe County urges its residents to join us in recognizing the importance of our food and agricultural industry, to thank a farmer in providing the food we eat, and prepare meals using a variety of New York State produced products, we must never forget the hard work and dedication of all our farms nationwide. Now, therefore, we, Sabrina Lamar, President, Steve Brew, Majority Leader, Robert Colby, Assistant Majority Leader, and Adam J. Bello, County Executive, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2023 to be National Agriculture Month in Monroe County.
Good afternoon. My name is Marilyn DeMeyer, and I'm actually president of the Monroe County Farm Bureau. Thank you for the great words stated in the proclamation. I'm glad I didn't put any facts into my little write-up here I did this afternoon. It's great to be back after the COVID shutdown. As many of you that have been here a few years know, that we've always done an annual Taste of Monroe reception for the county legislature. We bring in locally sourced, locally grown products. And I know a lot of you came through and sampled some of our foods. Thank you for coming in and talking with us. So my son and I, we farm about 300 acres out in the town of Parma. We grow soybeans, field corn, and kidney beans. If you tasted the chili con carne, that was my son's light red kidney beans. Anyways, a lot of time goes into farming. We really appreciate the time you take to understand our side. We all at least eat 3 times a day, and I think it's pretty important, right? I want to thank the farms that donated food, and a lot of you will recognize these names. Chase Farm in Rush, they donated the beautiful corsages you got if you came through the food line there. Colby Homestead Farms, Robert Colby's farm, brought the egg rolls made from the cabbage that they grow. The pumpkin cookies from Baxter Family Farm, small family farm out in Churchville. Bolton Farms in Hilton is a hydroponic operation, and they grow salad greens. They provided the salad that we had. Zuber Farms in Churchville, they have dairy replacement heifers, which is young cows that are going to be producing milk. Kim Zuber's brother, who's out in Byron, has the dairy cows. They produce milk that's sold to Upstate Farms, and that's the milk and yogurt you received. Schuetz Apple Mill, a lot of you know Schuetz out in Webster. They donated the delicious donuts, apples, and cider. And again, kidney beans came from my own farm. So farmers are a minority. What we have always thought is a tough profession is getting tougher. Not to gripe, we love the profession that we chose, okay? The weather extremes, the volatile markets, world politics, national policies, those are always beyond our control. We work very hard physically on our farms, but more and more we find ourselves having to fight misinformation, okay? We try to educate the public that we are really excellent stewards of our land and the animals that we tend. Okay. You can help us by spreading factual information. Robert Colby's a great resource. Any questions about farming, don't educate yourself on Facebook by the latest, group that's trying to wipe out everything they don't like. So a couple national, maybe state level things that are not county and local. Summarize, I'm sorry. Yes. The minimum wage in the state is killing us. Trying to pay $20 an hour is very prohibitive when surrounding states are paying less. We can't compete. The ag labor laws sometimes are very prohibitive trying to get good help. I've been told to summarize. A big issue locally here that we can look at is as we go towards the green energy mandates, a lot of prime farmland in our county is going to solar projects. And I really wish solar could be sited on rooftops and, other areas that are not prime farmland. We're the breadbasket of the world here around the Great Lakes, and we need to try to move those, projects to other areas that's not taking out our prime land. So I will summarize, and thank you very much for your time here. And if, again, any questions, feel free to reach out to the Monroe County Farm Bureau. We're happy to talk with you.
We're good. Yeah, Flower City Noir. Conveyance.
Okay.
Would members of the Flower City Noir Collective please come forward? Also, Legislator Carolyn Delvecchio Hoffman and President Sabrina Lamar.
You want to give it to me? Monroe County Legislature recognizes Flower City Noir Collective, whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live, and whereas attendant to such concern, these legislators are justly proud to honor the Flower City Noir Collective, founded by Kristen Walker and Tanya Noel Stevens for the contributions to holistic healing within our community. And whereas the Noir Collective was founded in 2016 as a corrective to the transphobia, classism, and elitism they witnessed in existing mainstream activist movements, and to cultivate practices of self-care, accountability, and radical honesty. And whereas Noir stands for Neighbors Organized with Imagination for Resilient Emergence, based on the model of Hope House in Detroit. And whereas the Noir Collective's mission includes elevating women of color in their communities using a holistic approach, organizing with imagination, respect, and sisterhood, while filling the void of safe, Black-centered spaces in Rochester that center around Black joy, love, and understanding. And whereas the Noir Collective offers free Black feminist mentoring programming for local youth called Petals, the cultivation of green space for and with Black urban growers, bugs, reading groups in the Noir House. And whereas the Noir Collective's work has received recognition and awards like the 2020 Anna Marie Douglas Award for Community Building. And whereas Tanya Noel and Kristen Walker are no strangers to the disparities faced by Black and Brown youth and help to implement social and emotional approaches that help deal with problems caused by systemic oppression. Now, therefore, let it be known that we, President Sabrina Lamar, and Carolyn DeVecchio Hoffman, Legislator, District 25, do hereby honor Flower City Noir Collective for their commitment to serving Rochester and Monroe County on this 14th day of March 2023.
We're incredibly grateful to be honored today by our peers, by folks that love the work that we do, especially being honored in Women's History Month, especially being honored after Reverend Florence, especially being honored apparently during Agriculture Month. Like this, we continue to do the work to work against food apartheid that happens in our neighborhoods. We continue to do the work to educate our youth about all of the intersectional oppression that happens. And we hope that the legislator and the folks here can continue to uplift the youth and uplift Black-led organizations, queer-led organizations, women-led organizations, organizations that actually want to get the work done. And make sure, that we all got the energy we need and stuff like that. Yeah, have a great night.
Would Thomas A. Connors Jr. please come forward? Also, legislators John Baines, Howard Mafucci, Blake Keller, Tracy DeFlorio, Frank Alcoffer, George Hebert, Mercedes Vasquez Simmons, President Sabrina Lamar, and County Executive Adam J. Bello.
I got it. Yeah, I got it. Thanks. No, we'll do one. Whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live. And whereas attendant to such concern, these legislators are justly proud to honor Thomas A. Connors Jr. Whereas Thomas A. Connors Jr., a lifelong East Rochesterian, has lived in East Rochester for his 96 years. And graduated from East Rochester High School in 1944 and was named an alumnus of distinction by the East Rochester Alumni Foundation. Whereas today, March 14th, 2023, has been named Tom Connors and his classmate you're about to meet, Nick Verzella Day, in the village of East Rochester by the mayor and the village board. Whereas Tom Connors, a veteran and a patriot, served in the U.S. Army in the Pacific during World War II, has been an active member of the American Legion for over 50 years, served as commander of the East Rochester American Legion post on 2 occasions, traveled with his fellow veterans on honor flight to the World War II monuments in Washington and on Gary Sinise's Soaring Valor program to the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. And whereas Tom Connors, educator of excellence. Apple for the teacher. That's from the Farm Bureau, Tom. Served the students of East Rochester schools for 35 years, teaching 6th grade and 7th and 8th grade social studies from 1951 to 1986. Led his professional community as president of the East Rochester Teachers Association, attended St. Lawrence University and State University of New York at Geneseo on the GI Bill, earning his bachelor's and master's degrees. Whereas Tom Connors, an athlete and coach, served as a caddy at Monroe Golf Club in the 1930s. Played golf at a competitive level his entire life, played soccer and basketball at SUNY at Geneseo, coached varsity tennis for 15 years, served as assistant varsity football coach and modified basketball coach, and announced games as the voice of the ER Bombers. And whereas Tom Connors, community leader, served as a trustee on the East Rochester Village Board for 9 years, co-chaired the East Rochester Bicentennial Celebration with his wife, Mary, in 1976, participated as a member of the East Rochester Rotary for 45 years, serving as its president and winning a Paul Harris Fellow Award. Tom served as a volunteer firefighter for the East Rochester Fire Department for 5 years and served as East Rochester Village Historian for 4 years. Was named Man of the Year by the St. Nicholas Society and Citizen of the Year by the East Rochester Rotary Club. He currently serves as an usher at the Church of St. Jerome, where he continues to be active and continues to serve as keynote speaker. He might take the mic after this at community celebrations. Whereas Tom Connors, citizen of the world, has traveled to Europe on many occasions throughout his life, leading tours to the cultural treasures of Europe with his wife, Mary, and introducing art and culture to the lives of his fellow citizens. Led his sons and their friends on golf trips to Scotland, and especially to his family's hometown of Campbelltown on the Kintyre Peninsula in West Scotland. He proudly visits his son, the only of his 7 children not with us tonight, in Germany, in Munich, where he's one of the leading tenors in the world and has a tenured residency with the Munich National Opera. Whereas Tom Connors, devoted to family, raised with his late wife, Mary, their children, and would they please stand, Thomas A. Connors III, John Jack Connors here from Oswego, Doug Connors here from Maryland, Kevin, who's in Germany, James, Jamie Connors, Edward, Ted Connors, and Katie Connors DeVito, of whom he and Mary are justifiably proud. And Tom continues to gather his children and 10 grandchildren around him in celebration of family at his home on Woodbine Avenue. And so finally, whereas Tom Connors, esteemed by his community, is universally recognized by the East Rochester community as a role model for a life of service, faith, family, and fun. Therefore, let it be known that we, President Sabrina Lamar, Adam Bello, County Executive, John Baines, Legislator, District 18, Howard Mafucci, Legislator, District 10, Blake Keller, Legislator, District 1, Tracy DeFlorio, Legislator, District 3, Frank Alcoffer, there he is, Legislator District 4, George Hebert, Legislator District 15, and Mercedes Vasquez Simmons, Legislator District 22, do hereby honor Thomas A. Connors Jr. for his commitment to serving Rochester and Monroe County on this 14th day of March, 2023.
What an introduction. Well, a lot of fancy phrases flying around here tonight. I'm glad that a few of them were directed my way. And I thank the county legislature for deeming me worthy to be recipient of those kind words. I'm 96 years old, and I know that any success that I've had has been shared with the people that made it possible. I've worked with committees in the village, and they've all had something to do contributing to this tonight. One of my biggest cheerleaders was my wife, Mary. She led a pretty full life of her own, doing her own thing. But she also held the family together and made it possible for me to go out to Rotary meetings and Legion meetings. I knew the kids were well taken care of at home. I've known Nick Verzella, who's going to speak to you. I'm glad they let me speak first, because speaking after Verzella is like singing after Caruso. So you're in for a real treat when Nicky comes up. I think I covered all the bases. I'm a proud veteran, and I'm very proud to be recipient of these kind words. Thank you.
This last one.
Is Nick going to come up? Would Nicholas A. Verzella please come forward?
So first, following John Baines is very, very, very difficult, but I'll do the best I can. I am truly, truly honored to do this.
Thank you.
Whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live. And whereas, attendant to such concern, these legislators are justly proud to honor Nicholas A. Verzella. And whereas, Nicholas A. Verzella, a lifelong East Rochesterian, has lived in East Rochester for his 96 years and graduated from East Rochester High School in 1944 and was named an alumnus of distinction by the East Rochester Alumni Foundation. And whereas today, March 14th, 2023, has been named Tom Connors and Nick Verzella Day by the Village of East Rochester. And whereas Nicholas A. Verzella, a veteran and a patriot, served in the United States Army in Europe during World War II from 1944 to 1946, was honored by the Americanism Award from the Monroe County American Legion in 1997, was named Legionnaire of the Year by the East Rochester American Legion Post 1917 on 2 occasions, was named Catholic War Veteran of the Year by the Catholic War Veterans of New York State in 1999, was inducted into the New York State Veterans Hall of Fame, and in further service to his fellow veterans and his nation, Nicholas A. Verzella led the Memorial Day and Veterans Day ceremonies for many years from the bandstand in East Rochester's Edmund Lyon Park, which is named in his honor. The Nick Verzella Bandstand. And whereas Nicholas A. Verzella, the educator of excellence, here's your apple.
Thank you.
Let's go back here. Educator, excellent. Served the students of the East Rochester schools for 39 years as a teacher, principal, and interim superintendent, and was named Educator of the Year by the American Legion of New York in 2004, and was honored as a finalist for the New York State Teacher of the Year on 2 occasions, and earned the American Educators Medal from the Freedoms Foundation at Valley Forge in 1975. And whereas Nicholas A. Verzella, an athlete and coach, coached football, basketball, and baseball at multiple levels for the ER Bombers, and served as the ER Bombers football announcer for 20 years, and was inducted into the ER School's Athletic Wall of Fame, and served as the Master of Ceremonies and speaker at banquets and ceremonies of honor to uplift ER athletes and coaches. Whereas Nicholas A. Verzella, a community leader, was named the Rotary Citizen of the Year in 1974 and was honored as St. Nicholas Society Man of the Year in 1975. And whereas Nicholas A. Verzella, devoted to family, raised with his late wife, Dorothy, their children, Lisa and Jeff, both of whom are leaders in their chosen professions, and of whom Nicholas and Dorothy are justifiably proud. And whereas Nicholas A. Verzella, esteemed by his community, was described by his fellow teachers in this way: Nick believes in the value of the individual, of human dignity, and the God-given art of getting the best from everyone and the ability to make one feel as tall as a giant. Whereas today, March 14th, was named Nicholas A. Verzella Day by Mayor John Alfieri and the East Rochester Village Board. Now, therefore, be it be known that we, Sabrina Lamar, President, Adam Bello, County Executive, John Baines, Legislator District 18, Howard Mafucci, Legislator District 10, Blake Kelleher, Legislator District 1, Tracy DeFlorio, Legislator District 3, Frank Alcoffer, Legislator District 4, George Hebert, Legislator District 15, and Mercedes Vacquez Simmons, Legislator District 22, do hereby honor Nick A. Verzella for his commitment to serving Rochester and Monroe County on this 14th day of March, 2023.
Thank you, Howard.
God bless you, man.
There's a terrible, terrible rumor going around that I never passed up an opportunity to speak into a microphone, but I will. But I want to first say that my good friend, Tom Connors, everything you heard about him is true. I've known Tommy for 91 years. We were both born in East Rochester. We were met in kindergarten 91 years ago, and we've been good friends ever since. We've done everything there is to do together. So congratulations, Tom. And the only other thing I want to say is, of course, thank you to the legislature. But I was last here in this building 77 years ago after being discharged after World War II. Monroe County veterans were recommended to bring their discharge papers up here and kept in the event that we ever needed our papers in the ensuing years. And so this is the first time I've been back in this beautiful building, and it's a real pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And as a matter of serendipity, today is Pi Day. And you know, you math people, that pi is the number that goes on forever. So I know you all join me in saying to Mr. Connors and Mr. Verzella, may you go on forever.
There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the Is that better? Thank you. We will now hold the public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clark?
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds and exit through the chambers back over here at my right. Thank you for your cooperation. The first 3 speakers are Andrea Lista, Glenna Chance, and Eileen Wren.
Awesome. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you tonight. This is going to be good. It's going to be happy. My name is Andrea Lista. I am the Cooperative Extension executive director here in Monroe County. I want to just say thank you. I want to thank you, thank the Monroe County Legislature, thank the executive body. Honestly, your support of Cornell Cooperative Extension is incredible. And I just want it to be known what you are doing in your community in support of Cooperative Extension and the work that we do. So for those that don't know, I know that all of you do, but Cooperative Extension is an educational programming outreach. What we do is we support agriculture, we strengthen families through 4-H youth development, we promote health and well-being through nutrition, we promote responsibly improving our home and community landscapes through natural resource programming and horticulture programming. We do a whole lot of things people aren't fully aware of. So it seems fitting to acknowledge the county legislature and the executive body for all that you do, because this is Ag Month and Nutrition Month, and Ag Literacy Week is coming up in a few weeks. And it is also National Disability Awareness Month. And all of these ways are ways that you have supported CCE and our outreach. A couple quick things that you are doing, and thank you for those of you that are out in the community this week and next week and the week after, reading to our elementary age students the wonderful book Tomatoes for Neela, which is about bringing families together and exploring cultural diversity and bringing people around food. So thank you for being a part of that work in our elementary schools. Many of you have joined us for our annual Blocks in Bloom tour. Blocks in Bloom being that wonderful program that encourages people to come together as a community through front yard gardening. Many of you are giving us important connections so that we can do more outreach to our community through libraries and community centers and schools. My time is up. Many of you supported our county nutrition program. Thank you for that. That makes sure that we get nutrition out to all of our county residents. And if it weren't for you doing all these things and more, we couldn't do the work that we do. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for engaging with us. Thank you for helping us reach your constituents. And if there's anything we can ever do to support you and reaching your constituents, please reach out. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Glenna Chance, and I'm speaking about the alarming dangers of RGE's so-called smart meters. Previously, I presented as much dense scientific information as I could pack into 2 minutes, but tonight I will present highlights for your consideration. Humans are bioelectric beings. Bioelectricity refers to electrical currents occurring within or produced by the human body. Bioelectric currents are generated by a number of different biological processes and are used by cells to conduct impulses along nerve fibers, to regulate tissue and organ functions, and to govern metabolism. Bioelectricity is natural and subtle. The radio frequency waves generated by these meters are artificial and of a shape and intensity that attack and dysregulate every system in your body. Smart meter radiation destroys the communication between your cells, and cells make up everything in your body. Without cell communication, your organs and the nervous system that feeds your organs cannot function. The disease process overtakes the self-regulatory process, which is why exposure to this kind of radiation causes such a long and diverse list of physical symptoms. These meters do not meet the legal definition of safe, despite RGE's claims. RGE's legal counsel seems unconcerned about this. He also seems unconcerned that ADA law will be violated by the punitive opt-out fees. Please, just for now, until you fully understand the dangers, place signs on your safe analog, electric, and gas meters that you do not permit smart meter installation on your property. And make no mistake, all these billing irregularities are an orchestrated thing to make the community, to wear out the community and make them accept these smart meters. Don't do that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eileen Wren. I live in Chilai Center. I'm here to address the urgency of the need for a public utility. RG&E is incompetent and primarily focused on profits. I want to share my story. In 2021, I had an unannounced man at my door requesting entry to inspect my gas meter. I refused. I called RG&E. They did not have any record of inspections occurring. Weeks later, I received a letter from RG&E stating I would be charged $100 because I refused the inspection,
but it would be credited once I complied. A phone number to schedule it was provided. I called RG&E and said I shouldn't be charged. I was not informed of the inspection. They said it was on our website. I called to make the appointment several times, but no one answered. I called RG&E again. They provided a different phone number. I told them that I would not be paying the fine. I received false reassurance that I would not be charged. I called the new number, left a message, received a call back several days later. The inspection occurred on December 7th. During this time, I paid my utility bill minus the $100 fine. A termination service letter was received on dated December 6th. I called RG&E again to inform them that the inspection was completed. They said that they receive reports from the company every 2 weeks and to call back on the shutoff date to see if my account was credited. The shutoff date was December 23rd. This incompetence and predatory extortion does not align with community service. I urge you to take the RG&E crisis seriously and allocate up to $1 million for an implementation study this spring, and to work with Metro Justice and the City of Rochester to commission the study. It's your responsibility to the constituents that are on social media extensively with hopeless cries of help. We need to move forward with the study of an alternative to RG&E as soon as possible. Thank you.
Before I call up our next three speakers, I just want to remind the speakers to make sure that you speak clearly in the microphone so the people in the back can hear you, the legislators can hear you, and the recording also picks you up. So thank you in advance. Our next three speakers are Raymond Banks, Abdul Muhammad, and Mary Beth Knowles.
Buenas noches. Hablo español porque soy hispano. No hablo inglés, lo siento. Espero que me comprendan o si no, pues tengan un traductor. Vengo esta noche para hacer una querella grandísima contra la compañía de electricidad. Me están robando el dinero. El mes pasado siempre he pagado $209. El mes pasado los sinvergüenzas, esos ladrones, me robaron $426.94. Me lo robaron. Fueron al banco y lo sacaron. Hace 3 días atrás recibo otra carta, que la tengo aquí en el teléfono mío, para los que no me crean, $643.94. Llamar a esos ladrones es imposible. Yo fui a la oficina de ellos, al 89 Main Street Avenue, algo así, a hablar. La estúpida mujer allá no quiere comprender, no quieren entender el coraje, la rabia que le da a uno que le roben el dinero, porque son ladrones. Que me explicaron, $643, ¿cómo es posible? La estúpida me dice que tengo que cambiar las luces. Tengo que cambiarla. Hablamos en español también. La chica hablaba español. Me dijo que tenía que cambiar las luces. Yo la mandé bien lejos. Me imagino dónde sabe. Me salí muy enojado, fui al banco y le dije al banco hay que hacer algo porque estas sinvergüenzas me están robando y no quiero que me roben más. Y yo no estoy de acuerdo que hagan $1 millón para que se cree una comisión. No, lo que quiero es que nos den créditos por el dinero que hemos pagado. Créditos, no estudios, $1 millón. ¿Para qué? averiguar lo que ya sabemos.
Summarize, please, sir.
Gracias.
Hello, my name is Abdul Muhammad. Thank you, everybody, for listening to our measure about the RG&E. A lot of people are not happy, and I'm one of them. I have some property in the city of Rochester on 2021 June, one of my restaurant, and the tenant say I can run the restaurant anymore because of the corona. He said I'm going to close my business. Then I went to the RG&E and tell them to change the RG&E on my name because I did not know. Maybe that's maybe I did not find another tenant for a while, but after the same week I find another tenant, and then I told her to go to change RG&E water bill and insurance on your name, and then she did it. And after 15 days, and then the next month the RG&E sent me a bill. My bill was around $300. I say, well, this place was just, the RG&E was just in my name for 15 days. How that's going to be $300? Well, they say, we're going to send you the inspector to read the meter again. Then I meet the person inspector, and he told me that your meter is not working. So they send the same guy and then go to the meter and read the meter. And then the following month, I received the same bill. Then I call again. They say, we're going to send you another inspector to check the meter. And then they send the same guy again. Then I told the guy, did you put a work order for this job? They say, yes, I did. But they did not care about that. And then lately, I went to the RG&E and tell them this is the issue, this is the problem. Check the bill, adjust the bill, which is belong to the previous tenant, not me. Then they say we're going to take care of them. Now they send them to the collection department. Then going to destroy my credit. So I hope this is the only source of the energy we have in Rochester. I wish we had another one. I can change it, but there is nothing else in there. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Karen Pelk, Tyrone Hotch, and Patrick Shea.
Thank you. Okay. My name is Karen Pelk, and I'm a homeowner, and I live in the 14609 area. RG&E exists to benefit shareholders to the detriment of the Rochester community. They are taking jobs out of Rochester, overcharging customers, which contribute to homelessness and food insecurity with no accountability. So I ask, why are we allowing corporate greed to continue? Why are we allowing citizens to have to choose between heating their homes or paying for food and shelter? Why are our key public officials not supporting an initiative to benefit all? Why are we letting public officials be swayed by RG&E instead of serving the community that elected them? Why are we not investing in long-term solutions with public utility for the Rochester community, which is more sustainable and affordable? The county has to take responsibility for this regional issue, not New York State. The state has no authority in this matter and will prolong this study indefinitely. We know the county has the power to commission and fund this study with input from the public and Metro Justice. This utilization study is worth $1 million we are asking for. The public-owned utility would stop RG&E from hemorrhaging millions out of our region. We want a locally owned, community-controlled public utility. This would include local elected board members, local experts, ratepayers, and our local utility workers that can make decisions about our energy instead of an international corporation that raises the rates and cuts service to increase their shareholders' profits. We as a community need to bring this money back to Rochester where we can provide for our community in a sustainable, affordable way now and for future generations. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Dr. Scott McCrae, Gregory Lendens Haig, and Jim Berger. Close enough.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Scott McCrae, head of the corneal transplant and LASIK refractive team at the University of Rochester. I also bike year-round. I've lived in Portland, Oregon for 17 years and watched the community with a relatively small investment transform to one of the best biking counties in North America. Cold weather counties like Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Madison, Wisconsin also have done the same. When evaluating our current transportation structure, there are several questions we need to ask. The first is, why are American kids 5 times more likely to suffer from obesity than Dutch kids who ride to school? The second is, why is the current rate, will 2 in 3 Americans suffer a serious motor vehicle related trauma injury in their lifetime at the current rate? The third question is, why are families in Portland, Oregon saving $2,500 a year by driving 4 miles less a day? It's essentially like having 4% less taxes. And Portland is one of the quickest growing cities in the country in attracting young talent. The answer to all 3 of these questions is how our streets have been designed. Monroe County needs to build our streets safer, healthier, and more wealth producing so our dollars don't go to Exxon or Toyota and we don't end up in a trauma ER room in Rochester. For the last 70 years, our roads have been designed for speed and to avoid congestion. This has resulted in overbuilding of our roads. They are unsustainable. We can no longer maintain our bridges and roads. For decades, the county DOT built roads to maximize speed and volume without the oversight of elected officials. They used technical arguments and jargon to justify their approach to avoid bike lanes. That approach has created an environment where we, the people, and our children are scared to walk and ride on our streets. The current system is broken, unhealthy, and dangerous. We need a strong bike and pedestrian Monroe County active transportation and complete streets policy to optimize safety over speed and health over traffic volume. Please help us redirecting our street design. Thank you.
My name is Gregory Laban-Siggins, and my RG&E bill last month was $494. But this isn't just about me. I'm a public defender, and I know people across the county who don't have the emergency funds or financial flexibility to account for unpredictable energy bills. The financial benefits of public power, benefits that will be demonstrated by the implementation study, would make a significant difference in their lives. Public power will also restore a sense of control that is sorely lacking in people's lives right now. We live in a world surrounded by RG&Es, faceless behemoths picking people's pockets at every turn and indifferent to their struggling. We constantly hear our representatives claim they want to keep us safe. Then keep us safe from this corporate predator. RG&E doesn't care about providing electricity or keeping people warm. All they care about is profit. You have the opportunity to do something about these threats. You have the capacity to take on RG&E, to represent us in this struggle, to restore power to the people of Monroe County. Do the right thing. Take the first step. Fund the study.
Hello, my name is Jim Berger.
I'm a resident of the town of Brighton. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening, and thank you for doing your best to represent the interests of your constituents, we the residents of Monroe County. We rely on you to improve our quality of life here in Western New York. You have already heard some of the horror stories that many of our Monroe County residents have suffered with our current energy utility, RG&E. I want to tell you why I think replacing RG&E makes good sense. I firmly believe that having a publicly owned utility here in our county will be an upgrade for all of us. And we are asking you, our legislators, to approve spending up to $1 million to conduct the implementation study. Out of a total budget of $1.34 billion in the county, $1 million is less than 1/10 of 1%. I Googled public utilities here in the USA and learned some interesting facts. They are not for profit. They are community owned, locally controlled. 1 in 7 Americans are served by a public power utility. More than 2,000 communities in 49 states and 5 US territories have a public power utility. As a whole, public utilities have lower rates than other types, an average of 4% lower. Public power utilities also deliver more reliable electric service. Public power utilities, if you have that service, you may be out of electricity for 1 hour per year. And with the private, it's 2.5 hours per year. Okay. So in closing, replacing RG&E with our own public utility will save us money, deliver more reliable service, and be more sensitive to our climate challenges than we currently have. Please raise the funds for the implementation study. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Rachel Pepper, Paul Flansburgh, and Ellen Henry.
Good evening. I am speaking on behalf of Metro Justice's Rochester for Energy Democracy campaign to turn RG&E into a public utility. The following account was submitted to our website by Janet Begley. Janet moved to Rochester 3 years ago. Janet is on HEAP, but never saw the HEAP credit on her bill. All she would see was that she was enrolled in a budget plan. She tried calling about this and was told that RG&E didn't take HEAP payments. She was told that they put those people on budget plans. The budget plans had her paying an additional $70 a month, but Janet never saw her bill go down because of these payments. From May to November, Janet had turned her gas furnace off, which was the only thing in her house which used gas. Despite being turned off, she was still being charged for gas each month, even though the meter stayed the same the whole time. RG&E told her that they had read her meter and that it had gone up, even though she has pictures of her meter showing the numbers had not changed. Additionally, Janet was charged $100 for not being there to let RG&E check the meters. Janet is disabled and does not work, so she was always at her house. Not only that, but her meters are on the outside of her house, so she wouldn't have even needed to let anyone in had they come, which they didn't. Janet stated that every time it was announced that they were adding a one-time payment to accounts with HEAP benefits, she would get charged instead of credited that amount. When she tried to unenroll in the budget plan, she was told that she would lose HEAP credit and wouldn't qualify for HEAP anymore. Janet stated that she grew up in Monroe County and can remember when RG&E was only in the city and a few suburbs before it took over the entire county. Janet had previously lived in Fairport and Spencerport, and while using the public utilities there, paid lower bills and had no problems with communication. Janet stated that if she moves again, she would be considering a place where the utility is not controlled by RG&E. On behalf of Janet, myself, and so many others, I'm here today asking for your help. Rochester for Energy Democracy needs the Monroe County legislators to allocate $1 million to fund an implementation study. If you have the interests of Rochesterians in your heart, you will take this ask seriously. This is for us, for the people of Rochester. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Henry. I've lived in Monroe County for 40-some years and have been privileged to enjoy its many assets. However, at the moment, one thing, actually two, but I'm not talking about RG&E, hangs over us, not RG&E, and that is climate change and the need to rapidly take action to mitigate and adapt to the effects. If we don't get it right on climate, the innumerable other issues that I know you are all confronted with constantly become somewhat moot. So to this end, I thank you for passing a climate action plan and for approving funds to ensure its implementation. Now, as phase 2 gets underway, we would like to reiterate that one of the most beneficial actions right now would be to build local facilities for composting. I emphasize local because it's surely absurd that the few food scraps that are collected now have to be trucked out of the county for composting. It's wasteful, it emits more carbon pollution and is unsustainable. Furthermore, our big producers of organics cannot comply with the food scraps recycling bill, or rather they're excused from the requirement of diversion away from landfills. So our request is that, excuse me, the county build several composting facilities, and we further emphasize that the funds that are proposed for the feasibility study be instead used to contribute to the building of the facilities ASAP. We know that composting works. Surely we can benefit from the lessons learned by numerous other communities, both big and small, regionally and beyond, that have implemented composting programs in various formats. I think we are up to the task. And FYI, doing this would also surely simplify our advocacy to our local towns to institute some sort of municipal residential food waste collection if they had somewhere to send the material. So thank you very much.
Our next three speakers are Mary Moore, Lauren Weiner, and Marcus Miller.
Good evening. My name is Mary Moore. I live in Pittsford. Over a year ago, the Department of Environmental Conservation, the DEC, passed a recycling law. This required most businesses that generate 2 tons of waste per week to divert it from the landfill if there was a composting facility within 25 miles. No facility exists right now in Monroe County that can accommodate this law. So we have a cart before the horse situation. I'm asking our county leaders to catch up and build multiple compost facilities. Composting is nature's miracle. Let me tell you a little bit about my personal compost life. I share a compost bin with two other adults. I freeze my food scraps. Every week I take off the compost bin cover and I dump my scraps. There's no smell. There's no animals. There's always space because it's composting. If I wish at the end, I can pull out a drawer at the bottom of the bin and I can scoop up that rich soil. So if we had a compost facility, perhaps we could use that in our county for our gardens, our parks, our farms. We might be able to eliminate our overuse of fertilizer causing the algae growth in Lake Ontario. It would substantially reduce the landfill content, its smells, and methane gas. So I think compost is a win-win situation for our county, and I hope that you would build a facility. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lauren Weiner, and I was able to share my story last month, so I'm going to be sharing 2 other people's stories that are Monroe County residents who posted their story publicly on the Metro Justice website. So the first one is from Sophia, who says she lives in a 1,000 square foot home and has a bill that's worth $1,600. She's lived in her home for 8 years and never paid over $200. When she got this bill, she tried calling RG&E multiple times to speak to a supervisor, but they refused. They told me they would shut off her power if they didn't pay, and they told her to read her own meter since they wouldn't send someone out because they were just recently there. Once she left her name and number, they said they'd call her back, but they called during work and she wasn't available, so they left a voicemail saying they'll try her again tomorrow at 8 a.m., but they never did. And so she called them on lunch break. They put her on hold for 40 minutes. She had to go back to work and had to hang up the phone. So since then, she filed 2 complaints against the company and still has the bill, and nobody's getting back to her or trying to find a solution. The second story is from Mike, also a Monroe County resident, and they said that they're a housing provider for new Americans consisting of refugees and asylum seekers who are new in Rochester. So the Rochester Refugee Resettlement Services are consistently frustrated with RG&E and what the new American tenants are going through. Sometimes they're not seeing bills for months, and then they get hit with a bill for hundreds or thousands. They bring it in for Mike to review, and he sees that the bill was estimated. He tries helping them. He tries helping them call customer service, but they're put on holds. They have to wait for hours, and the answers are disappointing. Mike has been an RG&E customer since 1970, and it's time for a change. It's crazy that we are all dealing with complete absent and dismissive customer service in the time of a crisis, multiple crises. So thank you for listening.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcus Miller. I'm also in the 14609 area code. I've been dealing with this nightmare for many, many years. And I know we just got over a few years ago a pandemic, but RG&E seems to be careless of that. And I'm here today to speak about how they overcharge and how they make up different type of lies to keep people in their bondage. They make up these reckless excuses of why they charging you so high. But the thing is, why they do what they do, because there is no accountability. They're not being held accountable. And once somebody is not being held accountable, they think they can continue on to get away with murder. So what are we going to do to make them accountable? You know, I get bills every month, and I do call them and I tell them, you know, how is I'm getting this high bill and I'm barely home to even use my RG&E? And then they'll make up some lame excuses. Well, we underestimated you last month. I was like, well, then maybe you made another mistake and overestimated me this month, because it was foolish. And maybe they didn't understand how foolish that sounds, but it's ridiculous. But they try to keep people in that scenario, in that trap mindset that they're right and you're wrong. Their customer service is terrible. They have no care or reasoning to fix the issue or the problem. It's all about gaining and you struggling. And I don't agree on how they threaten people, even who have with child, to turn off their service. I think they should be held at a high extent of accountability for that. So that's my time. Y'all have a good day.
Our next three speakers are Sean Maloney, Ellen Dumas, and Christine Noble.
Hello, I'm Sean Maloney. I'm a resident here in Rochester. I used to live on Brighton Park, and that's where I rented. I have a lot of problems and a lot of issues with RG&E, but one stands out more than any other one, and that demonstrates RG&E's culture of carelessness, like what I like to say. And it is exemplified by terrible customer service and inhumane shutoffs. It is directly related to RG&E's interest, and that interest is profits. The interest of this culture of carelessness and the interest of profit is started at the top with people at Iberdrola and Avangrid who don't care anything about the people here in Monroe County, Rochester, or what we have to do at all. And it trickles down to their customer service people, their linemen. And that culture of carelessness is what caused me to come home one day and find my power shut off. We had no 3-day notice. It was the middle of the winter. And so I called right away and I said, listen, what's going on? The bill was extraordinarily high, but we paid it right there. I got through to that call in less than a minute, right? Paid my bill. I hope to get my service turned on that day, but it was 4:30. They said I need to call another number. Right, you got to call another number to get your service back on. I said, okay, I called that number on hold for over 35 minutes. When I finally got through, it was too late. It was too late for me to get turned on that day. And that's what they do. They don't care about us. They don't care about us because of that culture of carelessness. So you as the legislatures have a chance to be leaders. All right, you have a chance today and in the near future to fund a study, an implementation study of $1 million by this spring that will give us a chance to bring caring back to our public utility. All right, the interests of the people are paramount in a public-owned utility, and caring for others is because they care for their own interests. My interests and your interests are the same. We care about lower rates. We care about investment in the community. So we want people over profits and caring, not carelessness.
Our next three speakers are James Cuccinelli, Michelle Wunderlich, and Mike Harrell.
Hello, legislators. My name is Dr. Michelle Wenderlich, and I'm the organizer and policy specialist for Metro Justice's Rochester for Energy Democracy campaign and a resident of Rochester. I want to speak today to experiences of other communities who have recently established public utilities. A number of you have asked us to do so. There have been 68 such municipalizations in the last 40 years. Two examples are Winter Park, Florida, and Pittsburgh, California. Winter Park, Florida formed a public utility in 2005 after persistent problems with Florida Power Corporation of unreliable electricity and being unresponsive to addressing their problems. City leaders were barraged with complaints. In 2003, residents turned out in droves and voted overwhelmingly by 69% in favor of the city's plan to form a municipal electric utility. The years since have made it clear that the decision to municipalize was worth it. Their general manager talks of the three largest benefits being: one, lower rates. They're now 16 to 20% cheaper than the private utility was. Two, reliability. Outage times are down by 720%. And local decision-making. The not-for-profit utility has used its excess revenues that it now has to, one, pay off its buyout price within 10 years through its rates, and 2, make major capital improvements. The most important of which for them was undergrounding lines, making sure that their infrastructure wouldn't be destroyed with each hurricane. They are on track to underground their entire system by 2026. Pittsburgh, California, meanwhile, formed the Pittsburgh Power Company in 2006, and it's a model for technical innovation, workforce development, and economic partnerships. It's a publicly owned electric and gas utility in the Bay Area that operates a not-for-profit under the direction of a board of directors and serves 2 other communities. They chose to invest in electric generation and owning transmission in partnership with local companies and developers, and these investments are helping fund city capital projects. They also house a no-cost pre-apprenticeship program on green construction, solar, and hazardous waste up into low-income local residents, a free electric vehicle technician training in partnership with local unions, county and city governments, federal funding, nonprofits, and businesses. There are also multiple state and national networks of cooperation between public utilities, meaning that we can share best practices. We can do this. We need you to take the first step and commission the implementation study. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Robin Will, Ebony McClary, and Karen Langshofer.
Hello, my name is Karen Lankeshofer. Monroe County is in the enviable position of having biking and hiking trails running with interruptions its entire length from north to south. A cyclist can start in the southeast corner of the county on the Black Diamond Trail and travel all the way to Lake Ontario. The problem is that there are unsafe gaps between the trails which force cyclists to ride on heavily trafficked streets. These detours are dangerous, unsafe, and unattractive. The construction of the proposed state park along the Genesee will help make the trails complete, but Monroe County must find the means to complete off-road connections between the Riverway Trail and the new state park, which further connects to the trail north in Maplewood Park. This trail system would provide a convenient recreational facility for city and county residents and allow them to enjoy the beauties of the Genesee Gorge and the surrounding countryside. Furthermore, one portion of the Lehigh Valley Trail North already connects the RIT campus with the U of R campus. Connecting the Lehigh Valley Trail North and the Riverway Trail further to the north would allow students, faculty, and staff to also reach the downtown MCC campus as well as its Brighton campus, which can be reached along the Erie Canal. This would realize John Schultz's vision of a multiversity trail, which he proposed 10 years ago. Bikes mean business. Not only would tourism in Rochester and Monroe County be served with a fully connected trail system running from southeast to north through the county, but a transportation link between major educational institutions would provide cyclists and walkers with a safe, healthy way to make their commutes to school and work. Opportunities created by the federal infrastructure bill and increasingly favorable attitudes towards cycling and walking should be seized to produce first-class hiking and biking infrastructure for the citizens of Rochester and Monroe County. A fully connected trail system running from south to north would provide our citizens with much needed green space for recreational purposes and could bring bicycle tourism to Rochester, which, when properly marketed, could rival that of the towns along the Erie Canal. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Jackie Marchand, Suzanne Phillips, and Fran Morganti.
Hi, my name is Jackie Marchand, and I run a multi-million-dollar bicycle touring company. I've taken groups of people to 40 different countries and to nearly every state in this country. I've experienced places with great bicycle and pedestrian infrastructures. I say experienced because that's what it is when you actively travel through a place, you experience it. Cars take people through communities, Safe streets, bike paths, and pedestrian malls get people outside and make communities. I've run my company for 19 years, and I've seen a lot of change in that time. We do a bike tour that crosses the United States on back roads. We used to have to make wide arcs around Tucson and Austin, staying at Super 8s near interstate exits. But now that both cities have created beautiful bike path systems, we cycle right through the center of town. We stayed in downtown historic hotels in Tucson, have dinner in microbreweries in Austin, and become part of their communities. The Erie Canalway Trail has become a nationally known bicycle trail. What a shame that it encourages cyclists to travel south around our city. They bypass the Susan B. Anthony House, High Falls, the Strong Museum. Thank goodness the Genesee Riverway Trail now creates a detour to take cyclists into the city. But we need an east-west trail that connects the Canalway Trail through downtown. We need an entire bike path system that connects people with one another and into our community. We also need a maintenance budget to repair existing bike paths. That Riverway Trail by the U of R campus is painful to bike on. It's an embarrassment. I also try to walk as much as possible, but I can't walk to visit my mom in a nursing home only 2 miles away. There are no sidewalks on that stretch of Elmwood Avenue. We need to have pedestrian paths or sidewalks on all roads in our county. I was born and raised right here in Rochester, first in the city and now in Brighton. We have done a lot in my lifetime, but I've been to Amsterdam, the city known for its bicycle infrastructure in the Netherlands, many, many times. They didn't do it overnight, but they started with a vision and they built it over generations. We can too. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Phillips. I have lived in Monroe County for over 50 years and in the Charlotte area of Rochester for 40 years. I am here to implore you to delegate up to $1 million to fund the desperately needed study that can lend to assisting the county to provide its own utility service. A little over a year ago, RG&E sent me a bill for $5,900. Way over what it should have been. Thanks to the intervention of the Public Service Commission, this issue was resolved, and I will be contacting them again for assistance in having RG&E resume sending me paper statements, something that for some reason known only to them, they stopped doing several months ago, and for which my request for resumption has been ignored. As you well know, RG&E has caused a horrific number of problems with erroneous billing and the great difficulty incurred when trying to speak with them by phone or in person. I have been told by a friend of mine whose daughter works at RG&E that the daughter says everything is a total mess. As you well know, Rochester has been named one of the poorest cities in the country. Even before the increased costs of utilities, many people have been unable to pay for all of their needs, such as lodging, food, medical, and power. And when they do pay for their current utilities, the multi-millions in profit RG&E generates are sent elsewhere and not put back into our community. I know you have many requests for financial assistance, but I implore you to delegate up to $1 million to help the entire area rather than just benefiting a few. Work with the city and Metro Justice to commission the study that could lead to the public takeover of RG&E in Monroe County, where it is badly needed. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Simone Williams, Teresa McFarland Porter, and Mary Staropoli.
Good evening. I'm Mary Starpoli here representing Reconnect Rochester, where our mission is to make Monroe County a place where everyone can easily and safely get around. I'm also speaking as a resident who enjoys getting around myself by bike, by bus, and on foot. There are so many reasons to create more walkable, bike-friendly communities in Monroe County. Getting people out of their cars will reduce the effects of climate change, with the transportation sector being the largest contributor to carbon emissions. There are the health benefits of people living an active lifestyle, and the fact that walkable, bikeable communities are better for small businesses. But perhaps the most urgent reason is saving lives and protecting the residents of Monroe County from physical harm, because it is becoming more dangerous to walk. Pedestrian deaths are skyrocketing across the U.S. and have increased 45% over the last decade, and that keeps going up. In Monroe County, on average, 10 people die every year walking, and we've lost 3 people already in 2023. And for every death in Monroe County, there are about 280 people who are injured in pedestrian crashes, leaving lasting mental and physical harm. So how do we reduce the harm? The most effective thing that we can do is improve the design of our streets and make investments in pedestrian infrastructure. I'm talking about more sidewalks, more crosswalks, more signs and signals around schools, more road diets and narrower lanes to discourage speeding, and so on. The active transportation plan that's currently under development holds the promise of taking us in a new direction, away from the car-centric mindset and policies of the past to a multimodal future that accommodates and protects all users of the road. So I'm coming to you tonight to ask for the legislature's support to make sure that we get this right, and that this plan directs robust infrastructure investments and strong, enforceable, complete streets policies that hold the Department of Transportation accountable for full implementation in road projects. And if we don't do this, we will just have another plan that will sit on a shelf, and more years of the status quo, and all the benefits of becoming a multimodal society will pass us by here in Monroe County. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So like many of us, born and raised in Rochester, we are very familiar with the name Rochester Gas and Electric. Now, I'm coming from a different perspective, so bear with me. I am an employee of Rochester Gas and Electric, and I wanted to absolutely say, I hear you. I understand frustrations, but I want to let you know that a company saw in me my passion for helping people, wanting to resolve things, my passion for my community. As I go to church here, I shop at Wegmans with you, I go to the same hospitals you all go to. So they saw fit to utilize my skills to be in the community. So we've been a part of a lot of outreach initiatives. I myself have gone to every one of them. I sit and I speak with you one-on-one. I work on billing issues and look to see what we can do. So I hear you. We hear you. I want to also make you aware that we are definitely working toward what you're asking. I can tell you right now, me personally, I can just tell you from my perspective as an employee, I look forward to going to work every day. I truly do. I don't mind. I understand, because I have a bill that I pay as well. So I just wanted to let you know that we are going to be more in the community. I have an outreach initiative next week. And I definitely want to let you know we are passionate. I can speak for myself. This is why I'm here today. I would not step in the lion's den if I didn't truly believe. I would not let you see my face and hear my name if I did not believe that I truly do want to be a part of this community, as I am. I've lived here, 38 years old. I've lived here all of my life except for 1 year. I did live in Maryland. And I'm very familiar with the company, as we have all had it. We've been around for over 100 years. So I understand that there's some grace that needs to be extended on all sides. Just know that we are here. We will absolutely be present in the community, and I will absolutely make it my business to assist as best as I can. Thank you so much.
Our next 3 speakers are William Collins, Deanna Chamsers, and Walter Ehrman.
Hi, my name is Bill Collins. I've lived in the city, raised my family in the Maplewood neighborhood for over 30 years. But before that, I grew up in the town of Perrington and just outside the village of Fairport. When I was young and growing up there, of course, I wanted to get my driver's license like all young men did. But I also biked all over the town of Perrington and was able to do that in the town of Perrington because the roads were different then. The roads were narrower, the speeds were calmer. I biked to school, I biked in the village to the library, I biked to my first jobs there. And that was because the county roads allowed me to do that. As I've gone back to visit friends and family in Perrington, I've seen the county arterials get wider and wider and the traffic get faster and faster to the point where you're taking your life in your hands to bike or walk anywhere near those roads. Those county roads, those arterials, are county property. They belong to you, the county government. You're responsible for what is happening on those roads, and those roads are getting more and more dangerous. County traffic fatalities, both from car, from bike, from pedestrians, have been going up steadily, and there's no end in sight. And it's going to be up to you, the county government, to make sure that that changes. There's a lot of people whose lives have been ruined because they've been hit by a car, either while they're in a car, on a bike, or by a pedestrian. Either their lives have ended or they've been seriously injured. And when it's the county road design that helps promote that, part of that responsibility belongs to you, the county government. And I'm here to ask you to take that seriously, to promote a complete streets policy, to make streets safer for all users, not just cars and trucks. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Walter Ehrman, 14610. First, oddly enough, I'm going to give praise to RGE. On January 13th, when I received the absolute outrageous bill, they did come to the house, they made a corrected reading, and about a month late, 2 weeks later, I received the corrected bill. Now the story starts. When I looked at the corrected bill, I carefully looked at those 2-3 pages. I usually don't, I'm guilty. And on the back page, there's this bizarre thing. There's a company called Constellation New Energy, someplace in Texas. They would charge me for a month for $28 that month. I carefully went to all the previous bills, and I found out from October 2021 to the end of 2022, there's an aggregate goal. Each month they're taking out money, which equals $544.75. I call RGE and I'm told it's a community decision. I said, what are you talking about? What they're talking about is when you get a bill, all that little junk in there, the things that make you feel good, that tell you that RGA is wonderful. I had to check a little box that said, no, I don't want this. Well, I didn't. I feel guilty. I threw it in there. I tried to say this to them, and they said, call Texas. So I called Constellation New Energy, Houston, Texas. I said the same thing to them, and over the telephone, a man says, the word is aggregation. I said, what is aggregation? I'm back in high school with the College Board's vocabulary test. At least in high school, they gave you 5 multiple choices. Or I don't know what aggregation is. So between aggregation and what is it, community decision, they're taking my money. Look, I'm a relic from the 20th century. I'm a relic. I admit, 20th century, they gave you a piece of paper, they had a date. I put my name, there was a text, and I signed my name and date. Then you take my money. Now they're playing games. They took my money. I have to tell you, I probably contacted since that date 5, 6, 7 agencies, BBB, Attorney General of the United States. I am resigned that I am not going to get that money back. They took my money. I'm asking you carefully, please pass some legislation where these corporations can't play games with the computers. It's not fair. It was my money. They border on criminality. Thank you for listening to me.
Our next 3 speakers are Janine Lee, Alice Carley, and Clayton Lyons.
Hi, my name is Alice Carley. I'm a resident of the 19th Ward in Rochester. And thank you for all the work you do and for listening to us tonight. I am also speaking about public power. And yes, I have also had neighborhood power outages caused by infrastructure issues and have seen my budget bill unexpectedly double on occasion. But I am a homeowner and a taxpayer, and what most interests me is the county budget. $1 million sounds like a lot for a county to spend in 1 year on one study. But that study would not only show the feasibility of public power for Rochester and Monroe County, it would also produce a step-by-step plan of how to make the transition to public power as efficiently and seamlessly as possible, saving a lot of money down the road. And the result of that transition would be that tens of millions of dollars every single year after it was complete would stay here in Monroe County instead of flying off to foreign investors. Instead of being skimmed off as profit, those annual tens of millions will go towards infrastructure repairs and improvements that will save me money as a taxpayer, and also directly back to the pockets of ratepayers, also including me, thereby boosting the county economy. That means the return on this investment, with the million spent this year leading to tens of millions in annual savings in future years, will be, to use a technical economic term, ginormous. However, I understand that today is not a time to ask the council for a reaction. However, it happens that tomorrow, March 15th, is the day Metro Justice, the direct descendant of Minister Florence's fight, will be asking council members whether they approve investing $1 million in the feasibility study. I want to register my opinion now that the logical, moral, and fiscally prudent answer tomorrow will be yes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Clayton Lyons. I'm a resident of Rochester. It is a great thing that your chamber honored the late Reverend Florence today. As you just heard, Metro Justice, which is organizing Red, began as Friends of Fight. Of course, Reverend Florence began Fight. Reverend Florence fought for justice tirelessly. Red is doing that as well. How, you might ask? Well, in Rochester alone, approximately 37% of households pay between 10 and 25% of their income on just energy. That number rises to 44% of households that are Black and Latinx. Mind you, half of your energy, that hasn't been 2 minutes, no chance. So I'm going to keep talking, right? Half of your income on energy alone. What are you going to do with your kids? What are you going to do with your housing? What are you going to do for your food? When I spoke to you last month, I said we would get tired of asking. I said that this would be happening with or without you. Trust me, we mean it. There are many of us here. There will continue to be many of us here. A brief story. I've never paid more than about $350 for an RG&E bill. And yet, I've had multiple bills in a row over $900. Why? I don't know. Energy usage hasn't changed. Gas usage hasn't changed. When I call, I'm put on the waiting list. If I show up at their office, no one's there. What are you going to do about this? We're getting pretty tired, and I really hope that you heed your constituents and pass funding for a study, mind you, just a study, so you can get a whole lot of benefits. We're tracking which ones of you are accepting our proposals, and we're tracking which ones aren't. And there will be prices to pay at the polls. We are very organized, and we will start galvanizing our base, your constituents, to respond. Please listen to us, do the right thing. Again, we'll do it without you if we have to. We're just keeping your jobs in mind. Thank you very much.
Our next three speakers are Mohini Sharma, Douglas Kelly, and John Nichols.
ahead, sir. Good evening. My name's Doug Kelly. I live in the city of Rochester, and I'm an engineering professor at the University of Rochester. So I think a lot about design. And I'm here to talk tonight about design of the county's transportation system. There's two words that are essential: complete streets. We need a transportation system that's not designed to maximize throughput of individual automobiles at the expense of everybody else. We need a transportation system that instead considers and takes account of the fact that county residents get around Monroe County lots of different ways, and it makes us more prosperous and more sustainable and healthier and happier. So I own a car, I drive it around, but I bike to work every day, except when the weather's bad. Today I took the bus, I walked to the coffee shop. Lots of people in Monroe County live this way. And it's great to live that way because it reduces our carbon footprint and it reduces obesity and it promotes prosperity. It makes the place economically more efficient. This is what we need: complete streets. So that means sidewalks, crosswalks, bus shelters, protected bike lanes, things like this. And right now is an essential moment because of the draft Monroe County countywide active transportation plan. We need complete streets to be mandated for all new construction in that plan so that our county can reap all those benefits and to be sure that our county Department of Transportation gets the message. Thanks for your time.
Good evening. I'm here again as the organizing director at Metro Justice and a lifelong Rochesterian. Tonight, I'll focus on addressing a concern from many of you regarding the state of RG&E's neglected grid. We all need heat and electricity, which means we all must pay bills to a utility for a power grid. The question is, do we pay RG&E as the owner, or do we pay under local public ownership? Under RG&E's ownership, we pay with no say, and we pay for failing infrastructure. We pay expensive bills for frequent prolonged outages like in Irondequoit in 2021, miles of dysfunctional power lines like the ones found in Webster in 2014, and downed power lines that don't get repaired for several days, if not weeks. Our grid is in a disastrous condition because RG&E uses our money to enrich the shareholders of its parent companies, Avangrid and Iberdrola, instead of investing in a reliable grid for residents. As long as RG&E retains control of the grid, we can't do anything about that. The only way to do something about it is to take back control of the grid and our ratepayer dollars by turning RG&E into a public utility. With a public utility that is not for profit and community controlled, we pay less for a better grid and get an actual say. An implementation study will tell us the cost of upgrading and repairing the infrastructure. Then, when it's time to negotiate a buyout price in front of a judge, we argue to knock that cost off the buyout. The study will also assess a cost-effective multi-year plan to upgrade the grid that still keeps rates more affordable than RG&E. Ultimately, with a public, not-for-profit utility, we won't have to worry about the grid falling into disrepair ever again because we'll be the ones in control and we'll invest our dollars into quality service. Monroe County residents could finally have a utility where ratepayers, local elected board members, local experts, and local utility workers make decisions together about our energy. Your constituents want this future and have taken responsibility for it by organizing, by doing all the preliminary research to create a vision, to write an RFP, and draft legislation for all of you to allocate the funds. It's your turn to do your part. Vote yes to allocate up to $1 million for a study and commission it in partnership with the City of Rochester and Metro Justice this spring.
Hello, I am John Nichols. I live in Brighton. I'm a volunteer of the Rochester for Energy Democracy campaign. I'm here again to talk to you about a public utility for Monroe County. Specifically, I'm going to share some stories about RG&E that people posted publicly on the Metro Justice website. Here's Jessica's story, a Monroe County resident. She called at 10 a.m. because live power lines were down all over her backyard and a utility pole of power lines. Someone came 5 hours later just to tell her that they won't get to it for days and not to go in the backyard or touch to the fences, as there is live electric wires down and running through the fences, and they will be killed instantly if we go near the backyard or fences. But they can't come and fix it for days. As you can hear, it is absurd that RG&E wants a rate hike while they can't even maintain their own infrastructure. And here's Christina's story. She's another Monroe County resident. She's been on an RG&E budget customer on a budget plan for 15 to 20 years. Her $97 a month budget plan has recently jumped up to $170 a month in August, then $350 in September, October, most recently $430 for December's bill. No recourse and no answers, just pay or else. She's a single house owner, and there's no way she is consuming that much in utilities to warrant this huge jump. RG&E is owned by a multinational corporation that paid its shareholders $100 million in 2021 and they jack up bills for no good reason. A public utility that is locally owned and community controlled to be much more responsive to down power lines and have no reason to jack up people's bills. Public utilities are used from Fairport to Winter Park, Florida, to even the entire state of Nebraska. Thus, I'm calling on the Monroe County Legislature to allocate up to $1 million for an implementation study on a public utility by the end of spring. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Ruth Thompson, Tom Smith, and Nancy Kleintop.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us all to speak tonight. My name is Ruth Thompson, and I was born and raised in Monroe County. I was taught to treat my neighbors like they were family. Growing up and to this day, my family's home has always had an open door. Need a safe place to go? Need a bite to eat? Need a hug or some encouragement? Go to my mama's house because she's got you. She instilled these morals in us as they're important to give our best to everyone we interact with and to share acts of faith with everyone we encounter. My husband and I open our home and our hearts, as my parents did, serving our communities with our son right here in Monroe County. I have served as the deputy mayor for the village of Scottsville, president for the Scottsville Lions Club, and I serve as an elder for my church. I help coach baseball, participate in the PTA, teach Sunday school, and run community free drive-in movie theaters. A friend of mine told me I needed to work at RG&E because my values aligned with the great company that he worked for. RG&E respects its communities and its employees. It's committed to safe, reliable service. In 2016, I joined the RG&E family, and I'm glad to be part of the Avangrid team. Helping our most vulnerable customers in their darkest days brings me the satisfaction of knowing that my community members are in a better space. From checking on our elderly, blind, and our disabled customers during storms, to working with agencies like Family Promise and the Department of Social Services, we help our community members to become the best versions of themselves we can. In 2022, RG&E employees volunteered over 650 hours locally. The Avangrid Foundation and RG&E have contributed to over $350,000 to local nonprofit organizations. We're in the process of donating energy efficiency kits right here in Rochester. The 800 of us that work here at RG&E, we live here, we work here, we care for our neighbors and our communities. We missed Christmas to ensure that your power was on. We worked during the pandemics, we worked during the riots, and we'll continue to work as best as we can for you. It is hard standing in front of this group who's definitely has their own opinions. We can all make a difference, and RG&E is hiring. If you'd like to be part of the change and help make a difference, definitely check out our website. Thank you for your time and your kindness. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tom Smith. I'm a homeowner in Gates, and thank you all for listening today. I'm here to talk about RG&E and about how a foreign company is pulling over $100 million of profits from our local community. Just like the rest of you, I've seen my rates go up and community service go down. customer service go down. But of course, they will send their paid representatives here to talk to us and patronize us and say that our issues are not real, just like the two people you've seen tonight. But this will continue to happen because this is a company that only cares about their profits. Year over year, they will continue to cut jobs and raise rates. In the year 2023, especially in upstate New York, heat and electricity are a human right, and that should be obvious for everybody in this room. So why are we letting a foreign company take advantage of us? Every aspect of our daily lives, our jobs, our education, our basic living, why do we let them exploit us? These price gouges affect the entire community, from those on low or fixed income who can be devastated from price increases to our local businesses and public service buildings. You've been hearing their stories. You will continue to hear their stories. They will not end until you do something about it. Nobody else is going to do something about it. This is a regional issue that we have control over. A public-owned utility will pay for itself and will benefit the entire community as it creates jobs and lowers rates. I am just asking for you to fund an implementation study so we can prove that and help our community. Please be a part of that change. Thank you for your time.
My name is Nancy Kleintop, and I live in 14607 zip code area. I'm going to just briefly give you an overview of my problem. I have been meeting and calling for 8 months to have an accurate bill, and I was told they would finally get an average so I would be all caught up. Last month, I received a bill for $7,189.54. I was very frustrated within 3 hours of not being able to talk to anybody in that corporation. So I called the Public Service Commission. You need to be aware that the Public Service Commission in the state of New York is practically administrating all the bills that are a problem, not only for RG&E, but also for NYSEG, because Avangrid owns both companies. If I asked you, who is the CEO of RG&E, and I bet not many people could tell us. One of the representatives of the company said, oh, it's a company that's been here for 100 years. No, this is not the 100-year company that we're used to. This is a different situation. We have a foreign national company owning one of the most precious resources for our community. And we need to do something to educate ourselves about that. According to the Public Service Commission, they had 3 companies that they had to review intensely: Hudson Gas and Electric, RG&E, and NYSEG. Hudson has come through and corrected their problems. NYSEG and RG&E are subject now to a more intense look at what they have been doing. A more intense look. When I called the Public Service Commission, the woman, after she developed a case number for me, said, someone from the company will call you about this, an executive. They never phoned me, and they were told to do that by the State Service Commission. This is out of control. We have a company run by a woman who lives in Binghamton. Her name is Patricia Nilsson. And wasn't that great to learn? We need to have a choice desperately, or we're not going to have the kind of community that we want to live in, nor to promote for other people to move here. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Cristenzo Sciglione, Amy Malloy, and Gregory Bogzanowski. And I apologize for either of those if I got those wrong.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Crescenzo Scipione. I live and work in Rochester, and I'm here with Metro Justice to join the demand for at least $1 million in funding for an implementation study to replace RG&E with a local public utility. Before getting on to what I was going to say, I'd like to say that the RG&E PR spokesperson who was here was the same one who refused to meet with us for like 2 months unless it was in secret, so they can save their fake sympathy. These last years and months, as we've built this campaign by speaking to ratepayers all across the county, we've encountered so much more injustice than even we expected. We've collected thousands of petition signatures, and tens of thousands more complaints have been filed with the state PSC and local news media outlets. The vast majority are for overbilling issues, and far too many are for unjust shutoffs. In a region with some of the most concentrated poverty in the country, and where heat isn't optional in the winter and AC isn't optional in the summer. Their business model is to underserve and overcharge. They're exploiting all of us, homeowners, renters, businesses, the farmers we heard about earlier, are all getting squeezed just to keep a big, failing monopoly afloat. And so we ask that you study a solution. Passing the buck to Albany is irresponsible and unrealistic. Not only do we want to retain local control over this process, but this is ultimately as much a story about failed state regulation as it is about a corporate monopoly. The best way to ensure that a public utility is locally accountable is for you to lead now by taking local accountability. And so we call on you to fund a study to study a solution. For the low, low price of just $1 million, we can get real answers about a public alternative to RG&E. We know you have the money. We know you have the legal authority. The only question left is whether you have the courage to lead. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy Malloy, and I am a Rochester City resident, and I serve as a commissioner on the Rochester City School District Board of Education. Many of my own constituents, many of whom are some of our most marginalized community members, have told me their own stories about surprise bills from RG&E. Well, just about a week ago, I received my own surprise bill from RG&E for over $4,615. My normal payment has always fallen somewhere between $400 to $800 per month. RG&E's explanation, after they hung up on me twice and only got in contact with me after I contacted my state assemblywoman, is that they haven't been able to take a gas reading from my home since December of 2019. I am currently disputing this with them as we've had several visits by meter readers over the past few years. Additionally, we have never received any type of notification of our meter needing to be read. My bill has always fluctuated over the past few years, and so I never have had any reason to believe there were any issues. Families must have the power to make responsible energy consumption decisions. Inaccurate billing and failure to clearly communicate with consumers results in outrageous burdens for families. And while RG&E has offered me a payment plan solution, this is a huge sudden expense for my family. I know that many other families are experiencing the same challenges and are not necessarily able to shoulder this type of expenditure. This isn't an issue or challenge solely faced by Rochester residents. Our county and city must take responsibility for this regional issue. I would like to encourage the county to fund a study for a locally owned, community-controlled public utility. I'm asking the county legislator to allocate up to $1 million for an implementation study by the end of spring. Nationwide, we do see bipartisan support for public utilities in lieu of corporate ownership. Our communities deserve affordable, reliable, renewable, and accountable energy access. Please consider the positive impact this could have countywide on all of our families, and thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Greg Bozanowski. I live in Rochester. I spoke on behalf of Metro Justice's ask to fund the implementation study up to $1 million last month. So tonight I'm going to be sharing a story from David Sell, who submitted a public testimony to the Metro Justice website. He writes, "Every month I take pictures of my gas and electric meters and email them in. I rarely read my indecipherable bill, but notice that the reads on my bill for a couple of months was listed as estimated. I called, and after the usual very long wait time, was told that when the guys who input readings from email get behind, they just throw in an estimated reading. I have noticed that as well for the past few months, that the meter reader never comes anymore. I have had to call and make an appointment to get actual reads. In one of my calls, I asked why they haven't been by, and the customer service person said that there is no guarantee that they will come or not. Last and final straw, my bill for November was $87.66, which is about average. My latest bill was for $317.61, and I knew that couldn't be right. I called, and after the typical very long wait time, I was transferred to several folks as I tried to get an explanation why the bill was so high. I never got any explanation that made sense to me and was told that I was wrong and the amount was correct and a bit higher because of a prior billing deficit, which I find impossible to believe. I hung up being frustrated and angry, and I feel I have no other recourse than to pay it. I totally support the effort to make RG&E a public utility because the way it is now is nothing less than totally dysfunctional. He submitted a follow-up statement a month later. He said, yet again, I submitted my meter readings for both gas and electric on the RG&E website. I got my bill today. It shows that the readings are estimated and that the bill is $323.30, another preposterously high amount for a 950 square foot house with one occupant at 65 degrees using a heat pump. Meter readers have not been to my house in months. I am beyond outraged. That was David Sell. I just want to say that RG&E, as a private monopoly, incentivized to increase delivery rates and cut service. That is their job. If they're not turning a profit, the CEO will get fired. With a public utility, it will serve everyone. We can't wait for New York State. They're finishing their budget right now. If you're waiting on New York State, it will take forever. This is a county problem. We need county solutions. We're waiting for you. And an implementation study. In Maine, they did it, and it turned out it had all sorts of benefits they didn't even realize. Let's do this implementation study. It'll be great. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Our next three speakers are Melanie Bernhardt, Emily Gosh, and Rosewell Murray.
Just for the record, it is Mulaney. It rhymes with Delaney. It might be easier to remember because I've been here many times. It's Mulaney. Thank you. I'm here again. I know I beat this issue with like a dead horse. I come back every time, but I'm still going to do it because this is for the Monroe County Department of Health. I'm starting to think health is a misnomer. I don't know if this is about profit, pensions. Again, I think that international corporate funding issue is going to come around in many things, and I think everybody should be paying attention to that. So my question is, was any of this about the health of our community? We have been speaking here for 2 years. We've been the canaries in the coal mine. Early treatments, doctors and were suppressed, shadow banned. People died because it didn't fit their science, the narrative. A leaky, deadly vaccine was rolled out and pushed like never before. In fact, to this day in New York, it's still advertised. It's still pushed, despite this being proven that it's not safe and effective. It doesn't stop transmission, and it is still not FDA approved, yet New York still continues to push it. People have lost their jobs, businesses, family, friends, based on this blatant agenda of lies. You hindered and crushed children's childhood learning, development, and now, which are very apparent in the speech and test scores. You can just ask any of the teachers here. The pandemic and lockdown was crushing. You helped fuel substance abuse, child abuse, domestic abuse, sexual abuse, mental illness, anxiety, pushing these unnecessary lockdowns and mandates. If Jessica was here, she probably would have a comment to that. And you never once, and this is where I have a problem with the Department of Health, ever encouraged good health practices like exercise, nutrition, getting better sleep, reducing your risk of comorbidities. That's what a health department should be doing, not mandating something that was never FDA approved. So the truth is coming out,
And I know you were all invited to the recent Summit for Truth that was held here in Rochester last weekend. We had over 1,000 people attend, 50,000 people watched online. Dr. McCullough, Steve Kirsch was there. I will happily send you all a link to that after this. So I'm just asking you, as I've asked in the past, please continue to do the research. Again, what they were saying about corporate funding, foreign investors, follow the money, find the truth.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Ghosh. I work in climate and energy policy. I live in Rochester and have been part of RED's research working group for the last 3 years. I'm tired, but I'm here, and I want to talk about public utilities in Austin and Sacramento that could be models for a public utility in Rochester. Austin has innovative practices that align with community goals. They have excellent community customer service and shut-off prevention programs. They allocate millions of dollars to help low-income residents pay their utility bills and lower energy costs through efficiency incentives. They also provide services for the medically vulnerable and have a fellowship program for youth of color. They also want to be sustainable. 72% of their energy comes from renewable resources with a goal to be carbon-free by 2035. They receive multi-million-dollar federal and state grants to fund utility-scale solar and energy storage, pay no federal income taxes, and they're also able to own generation and transmission assets. In addition to typical renewable energy projects, Austin has district cooling, thermal energy storage, and supports distributed energy generation. Another example is Sacramento, one of the largest publicly owned utilities in the US. Is a leader in many areas, but especially for their governance model. They have a seven-member elected board, each representing a ward. The board sets policies, values, long-term direction, monitors performance, and hires and fires the general manager. The board seeks accountability and transparency through monthly public board meetings, public workshops, public hearings, comprehensive annual reports, and the utility has used referenda to allow their ratepayers to have a say in key strategic questions. They prefer contracting with local businesses, have minority-owned business advisory council, and more. We can do the same here in Monroe County if we want to. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Roosevelt Murray. I'm a Marine veteran, and I start off with the fact that when I got out of the service, I came home and my father wanted to open a business, and so I opened the business, and then later on, after he died, I later on found out that he had put my name, he had called RG&E up and got my name put up in there. And then later on, when I went to get my own RG&E, I had over $1,000 bill. And I called RG&E up, and they came out and said, oh well, that's still on you. Well, later on, I bought my own home. I have a double house. No one lives next door. My bill was low. On the side I lived in, I'm the only person in the house. My bills were low. I paid the bill. I called them up. The computer had numerous times switched it over, switched my lower apartment that nobody was in, the billing to the higher billing. And then later on, I called RG&E up and they said, oh, we're going to correct it. Never did. But later on, just not too long back, I got a bill for $200 some, my normal. Then they gave me a bill for $500 some. Then I called them up, which of course, all the outlets most of the satellites are closed. You can't hardly reach them. And then the next week, I got another bill for $800 some. Then I waited again. They were like, oh, we're going to shut you off. I called them up, talked to 5 different representatives. When I finally get through, they sent me to 5 different representatives. Then about a week later, I got another bill for $1,000. This is outlandish, very uncontrolled. We need to do the study. We need to correct this problem. This is getting out of place. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Lexi Popovich, Adrian Martin, and Simon Barnett.
Good evening. My name is Lexi Popovich. I am the director of the Smoking Health Action Coalition of Livingston and Monroe counties, and we are a program of the American Lung Association. I'm here to educate on the importance of keeping vape devices and e-cigarettes out of our parks, and that is not only for the benefit to our environment, but also for youth and young adults. 1 out of 5 high school seniors have used a vape product in the past 30 days, and all schools and districts in Monroe County that we work with are continuing to face challenges with the proliferation of e-cigarettes. Youth are starting at earlier ages. They're facing obstacles with cessation resources, dealing with nicotine addiction, and facing continued risks with other substances. Including vaping and tobacco-free policies is part of the comprehensive tobacco control best practices. These policies are beneficial for our community health, and vape-free laws signal to youth that tobacco use is not acceptable behavior or a norm in our community, especially in spaces that are dedicated to outdoor activities and use by families and small children. Our waterways, beaches, trails, open spaces, and parks are continued to be littered with e-cigarette waste and products. These products can be detrimental to our ecosystems as well. With the collaboration of many key stakeholders in Monroe County, we became the first county in New York State to create a vape disposal program. This requires all vapes and e-cigarette product to be disposed of properly and safely at Eco Park. As this represents a large public health step for Monroe County, we want to continue to encourage the efforts of our policymakers to address other aspects of this youth vaping crisis that we still continue to face here locally and with our schools. Tobacco-free signage reinforces enforcement through community knowledge and the acknowledgement of these policies. Including vaping and such measures help set a public health precedent and can help prevent future generations of our youth from ever using these products, as their use can become less noticeable in these public spaces. Recent municipal legislation that has included vaping in their tobacco-free policies does include the Village of Webster and the Village of Honeywell Falls. We commend any continued efforts to keep our adolescents and future generations healthy, and the creation of such measures that keep our parks and environment safe and clean as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Adrian Martin. I've lived in Rochester for 15 years. I'm a year-round bike commuter. My wife's a fair weather bike commuter. My kids walk to school, so we're helpful that the coming Monroe County Active Transportation Plan can help fix some choke points and bottlenecks in the county. But I'm also worried that the plan will end up collecting dust on the shelf somewhere, and that all the county employees who worked hard on it for months will see their work totally wasted. This is largely what's happened to Rochester's Comprehensive Access and Mobility Plan, the Transportation Plan of Rochester's Comprehensive Plan, and the city's Complete Streets Policy. I've attended many street redesign meetings put on by the city of Rochester where they ask for public feedback on changing the design of the street. These meetings all follow the same pattern. Step 1, the city's consultant goes over the various planning documents that outline the city's aspirations, like ROC 2034 or Complete Streets Policy, et cetera, et cetera. Step 2 is they show a number of options for the design of the street, including nice pictures of a calm and safe street with bike lanes and street trees, et cetera. In step 3, they explain that the Monroe County Department of Transportation will not allow them to build anything adhering to the city's official planning documents. And instead, they'll build a 14-foot wide travel lanes and spray paint a picture of a bicycle on it. MCDOT consistently prioritizes the ability of drivers to drive fast on every single road in the county over the ability of bicyclists and pedestrians to move around safely. Consequently, Rochester has a higher crash rate and higher death rate than Buffalo, Albany, or Syracuse. The last street design meeting I attended about Genesee Street between South Plymouth and Elmwood, the presenters mentioned that Genesee Street has a crash rate 7 times higher than the county average, but the street was being redesigned for the first time since the 1920s. So why doesn't MCDOT see their job as proactively fixing the design of our most dangerous streets? I've attended enough of these meetings to know that the answer is that MCDOT is actively hostile to that idea of active transportation because it occasionally requires inconveniencing car traffic.
So I urge the county legislature to pay more attention to MCTOT and not let them sabotage the implementation of the County Active Transportation Plan. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Simon Barnett, and I'm a Penfield resident. I'm here to support the Complete Streets Design Policy, but more specifically, I'd like to focus on a safe bicycling corridor that connects Penfield to the city. I live in Penfield, and during the week, I bike to Webster to work. On the weekends, I bike on Saturdays to our community bikes to volunteer there to fix bikes, and on Sunday, I volunteer at Asbury First. So during the week, when I bike to Webster, it's fairly safe. There's a shoulder the whole way. When I have to bike into the city, I have three options. There's Empire Boulevard, Browncroft Boulevard, and Blossom Road. All three of those are death traps. So Browncroft Boulevard, the shoulder disappears both at the east and west side of the hill, both directions. And at the bridge, okay, there's other places. Sorry, the pavement's uneven on the shoulder, and a lot of there's a section where the shoulder is replaced with a rounded culvert. Browncroft. Oh dear, I'm getting confused, sorry. Okay, they're all bad. I have pictures of them. You can come and take a look. If anybody wants to look at the pictures, the problem is when the shoulder disappears or there's debris in the shoulder or there's an obstruction, you have to veer out into the road and there's cars flying along, honking at you. A lot of times I have my rear view mirror, I'll stop, wait for the cars to pass, jump out, go around. Please pay attention to the getting from Penfield or Webster into the city, because it's really so nice to be able to bicycle, and that's an unsafe route. Thank you for your time.
Our next three speakers are Joseph Guest, Catherine Kringoli, and Ronald Hall.
Hello there, I'm Joseph Guest. I was here last month. I hope you remember my statement. I tried to outline how RG&E became Avant-Grid, essentially. My estimation, it started with the National Energy Policy Act and the New York State Legislature in turn created an energy plan which deregulated our marketplace. That to me means that this is a problem that the legislature can solve as well. And I just wanted to follow up with how things have gone since RG&E has become Avant-Grid. That was about 2015 when Iberdrola USA merged with UIL Holdings Corporation. Well, in 2019, Avant-Grid was fined $450,000 by the North American Electric Reliability Corporation for failing to meet reliability standards. One such standard requires that utilities must conduct real-time assessments of their energy management system every 30 minutes. According to the notice of penalty in regards to RG&E and NYSEG specifically, a failure on that system, which occurred on November 27th, 2017, took 9 hours and 20 minutes to be assessed and resolved. 2021, Central Maine Power, owned by Avant-Grid, was fined $360,000 by the Northeast Power Coordinating Council for failing to comply with a testing system meant to ensure the reliability of transmission operations. Just recently, November of 2022, Avant-Grid was fined $4.48 million by the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority of Connecticut, who concluded that Avant-Grid had violated state law by attempting to garnish the wages of customers who were affected by COVID-19 before informing them that a payment plan existed. People have brought up today the budget that was recently passed. I just wanted to quote the letter that was sent to taxpayers on December 14th of 2022. Quote, "The Monroe County Legislature believes that protecting taxpayers is our first and foremost responsibility. As we move into 2023, our priority is to ensure a Monroe County budget that protects taxpayers and provides our community with the resources they need and deserve. Absolutely, thank you. I ask that you hold yourselves accountable to this promise. Please fund an implementation study to investigate the viability of taking RG&E public and protect those who have been victimized so far. Thank you.
I would welcome this amount of grace. It's probably been about 40 minutes, but I just want to make sure we're not abusing the hybrid meeting.
I believe their video has to be on for a vote. If I'm correct. Yes, they're considered absent until, if they miss a vote because their video is not on, their vote would not count. Yes.
All right, glad you're there.
are there.
Yes, 'cause I think we should just be
know,
respectful of the reality of what we're all going through. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Catherine. I live here in the city of Rochester. I have heard numerous stories about people getting just blatantly extorted by RG&E. I really recommend and I really hope that the county can work with the city to implement a study, because the county has allotted millions of dollars of tax breaks to companies like Amazon. Is that money staying here? No. Is the money for RG&E staying here? RG&E is helping to keep people here in poverty. When there are people on fixed incomes, we care about our veterans, right? They're on fixed incomes. So what are we doing to say that we care about them? When they can't afford RG&E bills, when I've heard thousands of dollars. There was a gentleman here who is no longer here, wanted to speak. He said his bill was $10,000. How are we going to sit here and say that, oh, we care about the county, we care about our residents? This problem of RG&E is not going away. People are going to continue to get upset and probably think about moving outside of the county, where there is something like, Fairport Electric, or possibly moving out of the state. We really, really need to take a good hard look at our budget, because we have the money from the county and from the city. So I really hope that the county does the right thing, because this is just going to make people worse off than they already are. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Todd Shiski, Jennifer Fonseca, and Mohammed Ghazali.
Good evening. I'm Todd Shesky. I'm a Monroe County resident, live in Fairport. I've been a competitive cyclist for 38 years and tens of thousands of miles in this county. And last year I started bike commuting, and I've since gone about almost 3,000 miles so far, traversing off from Fairport up to the northwest side of the city. And so I'm getting an up-close view of how our city looks, who's out there. I see a lot of commuting going on, but I'm also observing the lack of infrastructure, and I'm seeing it up close. What pedestrians are dealing with, what cyclists are, what the people multimode transportation have to deal with on a daily basis. It's not a summer sport; it's transportation, and I hope the legislature will look at that as not as recreation, but as transportation primarily. My commute takes me through those areas. I go right up through the middle of the center of the city, and I see how when sidewalks are given a low priority and they're full of snow and people are walking in the street. And I see when the sides are full of slush and snow for a long periods of time afterwards. I see when cars are parked in the designated bike lanes, which are painted. Paint doesn't save lives, physics does. So please consider that as you're looking forward in the plan. I've seen some of the plan posted online. It's encouraging to see. I understand there's going to be a lot of resistance to that, right? That's nothing new. We talk about, we've uphold things like what's going on in what has happened in, somebody mentioned earlier in Amsterdam. They had the same arguments in 1973 that we do now. It took a lot of years. I'm not anticipating that this will ever be completed in my lifetime, but it doesn't ever get done if you don't start. So please start. Please push the plan forward. Any progress is progress. Thank you. And you have a lot of great resources. You have Reconnect Rochester. Rochester is a great cycling community. So please utilize the people in this community and make it transportation, not just recreation. Thank you.
In January, Kathy Hochul unleashed her New York Housing Compact for 800,000 new housing units over the next 10 years. This would mandate that each municipality within the New York City area increase its housing by 3% every 3 years, and outside of New York City, here in Monroe County, 1% every 3 years, or face corrective measures. These new builds would prevent, 1, towns from determining local land use and decision-making, and 2, towns to determine their own zoning laws. Hochul's proposal is based on the premise there is a housing crisis in New York due to restrictive suburban zoning laws. This is contrary to the actual population and construction trends. Between July 2020 and July 2022, New York had a net migration loss of 651,742 individuals, or 3.24% of the population. At this rate, in 10 years, New York will have 3 million fewer people. Another claim is that employers want to be in New York. Actually, employees are leaving New York. In October 2022, our New York State Comptroller reported jobs in the financial services industry, which is a longtime strength for tax revenue and employment, is at a 33-year low. A third false premises is that the government is needed to facilitate and ensure new multifamily unit construction, when in fact, multifamily housing construction is at a 50-year high. That's according to the National Association of Realtors. So some quick facts. Hochul's New York Housing Compact is embedded in the fiscal year 2024 April budget, overriding the power of the legislative branch. It overrides the local government zoning powers and zoning laws. A year ago, her efforts to pass through this through legislation were successfully opposed by legislators. Legislators voted it down. And this year, there is yet more bipartisan opposition. So I'm here tonight to ask for bipartisan help from both sides of the aisle. Please, as county legislator, come together, reach out to our state legislators, ask them to exclude this bill or vote no for this year's budget. Thank you.
Our last two speakers are Vedant Chakraborty and Dylan Welch.
Hello, legislatures. I am here to vote in favor of the amendment for vape bans in the county parks. I am a dentist and a researcher. During my residency this year, I was working with my colleagues at the Nicotine and Tobacco Research Corps. I have learned a lot about the dangerous effects of vaping to oral health and overall health. There is a higher likelihood of dental cavities and periodontal diseases among the people who vape. Bans work as people are curious about quitting vaping, and the quitting numbers go up. I hope that this initiative increases the interest in quitting among my dental patients and other patients. With such an initiative, me and my fellow physicians would advise and help our patients by referring and connecting them to Quitline resources. Thank you very much for your time.
I just first want to thank everybody for sticking around so late tonight. I want to say drive home safe, walk home safe, bike home safe. I know it's snowing out there. My name is Dylan Welch. I'm a teacher of adult learners here in Rochester, and I want to talk about RG&E. Now, I know we've heard a lot about RG&E tonight, and we've heard a lot about the problems surrounding RG&E, both tonight and before, as a matter of fact. If you turn on the local news, you'll see any number of stories about, outrageous utility bills, poor customer service, and rate hike after rate hike after rate hike. I think it's safe to say that there's a problem with RG&E. With that established, it's only natural to ask, what's the solution? I'm here tonight to advocate for a public utility. Gas and electric services are unique services. They are what economists would call a natural monopoly, which, like the name would imply, means they're a good which lends themselves to being a monopoly. Why? Because how are we going to have a functioning market for a utility company? Are we going to have 4 sets of power lines running around the city so we can pick which one we want on each day? Of course not. So we get a monopoly because 1 set of power lines is enough. And that's good. That makes sense. What doesn't make sense is having your monopoly privately owned. This is why the utility company should be a publicly owned utility. But don't take my word for it. Look around the country. Look at Seattle. Look at Sacramento. Look right here in Monroe County and Fairport and Spencerport. Look at 28% of the US electrical grid. And what you'll see is 13 to 63% cheaper utility costs when compared to their privately owned counterparts. Let me repeat that. 13 to 63% cheaper bills in a publicly owned utility when compared to their privately owned counterparts. That means worst case scenario, we get to go back to the people of Monroe County and say, hey, you got 13% off your electric bill. We did that. So that's why I want to advocate for supporting the $1 million for an implementation study tonight. Let's find out how much money we can save each month on our electric bill, and let's solve the problem of RG&E. Thank you so much. Drive home safe.
This concludes the public forum.
I don't know if this is the point where, Madam President, but the well-being of legislators and staff, if we take a 5-minute break, stretch our legs, and then come back fresh.
Sure.
Thank you.
5-minute break.
Okay. Yeah, so that. Good. All right, I gotta sign this off.
We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 23-0007.LL, enacting a local law amending the Code of Ethics of the County of Monroe.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Johns. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 2, referral 23-0007.LL, providing that local law entitled enacting a local law amending the Code of Ethics of the County of Monroe be tabled.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Johns. This is a motion to table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
And Legislator Milne, I just want to, oh, there you go.
Sorry, folks.
Item number 3, referral 23-0007.LL, fixing a public hearing on local law entitled enacting a local law amending the Code of Ethics of the County of Monroe.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Johns. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 4, referral 23-0031.LL, enacting a local law amending the chapter 323 of the Monroe County Code.
Moved by legislator Hasman. Who said second? Second by legislator Blankley. This is a motion to table. All in favor, say aye.
This is for
Oh, I'm
introductory
sorry, this is
purposes
for
only.
introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 5, referral 23-0031.LL, providing that local law entitled enacting a local law amending chapter 323 of the Monroe County Code be tabled.
Moved by legislator Hasman, second by legislator Blankley. This is a motion to table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 6, referral 23-0031.LL, fixing a public hearing on local law entitled enacting a local law amending chapter 323 of the Monroe County Code.
Moved by legislator Hasman, second by legislator Blankley. This is to set the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item. Go ahead, legislator Brew.
President, I'm sure this is the motion we've all been waiting for tonight, but I'd like to move items 7 through 40 as one motion with the exception of items number 18, 20, 32, and the MOUs, which I believe there are a total of 3.
Moved by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Roman. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. So we're going to item number 18.
Item number 18, referral number 23-0042, amending Resolution 168 of 2021, as amended by Resolution 66 of 2022, increasing the amount of contract with Tribe Ecotherapy for provision of a mental health program as a holistic option for veterans struggling with mental illness for Monroe County Veterans Services Agency.
Moved by legislator Keller, second by legislator Smith, and legislator Hebert and legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, legislator Hebert.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in full support of this referral. Ever since we partnered with Tribe Ecotherapy in 2021, which I want to note was the first usage of the Community Contingency Fund, many of our veterans have greatly benefited with tangible impacts, such as an improved quality of life and reduction of PTSD symptoms. The statistics have been exceptional. Success of this program is unquestionable. I'm very pleased and want to thank the county executive who has fully embraced this program. So much so that he highlighted it during his State of the County budget presentation a few months ago. And I thank him for his support and recognition of this Republican caucus initiative. By increasing the funding provided by the county to tribe by the $175,000 in this referral, we are doubling the number of cohorts from 3 to 6, helping assist even more veterans in need. Recruitment by the VA and Veterans Service Agency, my expectation is there will be continued superb success, and even more veterans will be able to take part in this amazing program. As a veteran myself, joined by Frank Alcoffer, who is a legislator, as well as legislator Blake Keller, I know some of us can speak firsthand about how impactful this program is, and I will continue to support this program expansion until every veteran who wants or needs this program can use it. And as I noted at the time of the adoption of this back in 2021, the program could readily be expanded to include battered women, abused youth, and anyone else susceptible to PTSD causing situations. I want to thank all those who operate the program, contribute to hosting the program, and all those who dedicate themselves each and every day for the betterment of our veterans. They have given us so much and deserve all we can give them in return. Funding and expanding programs such as the Tribe Ecotherapy in this referral shows our commitment to our military personnel who put so much on the line to protect all of us. I am sure all of my colleagues will join me in supporting this referral. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, legislator.
Explain my vote. The Tribe Ecotherapy program is truly one of the most important health-related programs in the county, and I can tell you firsthand how important it is to me in my daily life. Individuals who participate in this program are offered a new and proven successful way to manage their PTSD and improve their quality of life. While I am sure we have all heard of the classic sayings, go outside and enjoy the sunshine or stop and smell the roses. This is known as a nature-based therapy, and experts state that this is an effective model based on spending time in nature. Outside of traditional mental health approaches like solely relying on one-on-one therapy, this method utilizes sensory experiences such as outdoor skills, along with reading, writing, and meditation. Those struggling with anxiety, depression, trauma, and like me, anger management, and other mental health issues benefit from this type of treatment, and we have seen great success here in Monroe County. People participating in the program with similar ones across the county have seen a number of improvements, such as increased self-confidence, healthy relationships, better communication skills, and a stronger understanding of personal strengths. I know by expanding the number of veterans able to participate, that even more veterans like myself will be able to experience the benefits of this program. With that, I thank you, the administration, the county executive, and encourage the legislature to keep this incredible program open for our veterans. This is a life-saving program for our veterans. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Legislator Alcoffer. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 20, referral 23-0044.BR. Resolution authorizing the issuance of $10,850,000 in bonds of the County of Monroe, New York, to finance the cost of the rehabilitation and improvement of Lake Road Phase 2 from Bay Road to Pellet Road in and for said county at an estimated maximum cost of $10,850,000 and superseding the bond resolution adopted on February 9, 2021. Resolution number 45 of 2021.
Moved by Legislator Moore, seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, Madam President, to the administration. The title of this is to finance the cost, the rehabilitation and improvement of Lake Road. Could you please provide a brief explanation of what actually is being improved on the road?
Through the president, this is Tom Pollock, Deputy Director, Monroe County DOT. Sure, I can explain that for you. So this was quite a large capital project for our department. We actually widened the road to get our geometric standards for the shoulders. So now there's 11-foot lanes and 5-foot shoulders all the way from Bay Road to Pellet Road. We also removed an old abandoned railroad bridge and improved a trail crossing at the trailhead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam President, to the administration, why are there not bike lanes on this road? There appears to be ample space for bike lanes.
Through the president, we did not install bike lanes. We instead installed shoulders. Per our current DOT policies, the shoulders can be used for multiple purposes, including pedestrians and bicyclists, and also vehicles pulling off the roadway. There are not sidewalks out there, so we felt that it was in the best interest of all users of the road to install multi-purpose shoulders instead of bike lanes.
So through you, Madam President, to the administration, if I'm a biker and a pedestrian and on Lake Road, so if I'm a pedestrian walking on Lake Road, I have cars that are next to me, bikes are now going to swerve out into the lane of traffic to go around the pedestrians. And that's our idea of a safe, complete street. That's the best Monroe County can offer. Let me clarify, through you, Madam President, to the administration, how many people have died on Lake Road in the last 10 years?
Through the president, I don't want to give you false information. I would have to look that up and get back to you.
And through you, Madam President, to the administration, maybe while you're looking that up, you could also find out how many people along Lake Road, not just bikers, not just pedestrians, but also people in vehicles have died along Lake Road. And the level of severity of their illness.
I agree.
It's about the bond resolution. It's not about the project itself, it's about the bond resolution.
I agree. Legislator, do you have any questions?
That's fine. I'll just like to explain my vote then.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to thank the many citizens who have come to share their vision for a better community and who have come to ask us for help to improve their quality of life. I have constituents, both within my district and throughout the county, who've reached out to me, and I know others, because they do not drive. They don't drive, some of them because they have particular illnesses that preclude their ability to drive vehicles, and so they have to use bikes or walk to get around. There are also people who choose not to drive because they cannot afford a car, and there are people who choose not to drive in order to save on expenses. So we are asking the citizens and taxpayers of all of Monroe County to bond for this $10,850,000 to improve a section of the road. And I think some of those citizens and taxpayers would like a transportation option that is equitable, healthy, reliable, and inexpensive. They would like safe bike lanes and they would like sidewalks. So I will vote no on any road work until we have an adequate county policy that provides for all of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? I'll go to a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Mr. Brew? Yes. Mr. Brew votes yes. Ms. Roman? Yes. Ms. Roman votes yes. Mr. Alcoffer? Yes. Mr. Alcoffer votes yes. Ms. Barnhart? No. Ms. Barnhart votes no. Mr. Baines? Yes. Mr. Baines votes yes. Mr. Blankley? Yes. Mr. Blankley votes yes. Mr. Burgess? Yes. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Colby?
Yes.
Mr. Colby votes yes. Mr. Delahaney? Yes. Mr. Delahaney votes yes. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman? Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DeFlorio? Yes. Mrs. DeFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer? Yes. Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier? Yes. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman? Yes. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Mr. Hebert? Yes. Mr. Hebert votes yes. Ms. Hughes Smith? Ms. Hughes Smith votes no. Mr. Johns? Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller? Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long? Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes yes. Mr. Milne.
Yes.
Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes yes. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Taylor. Ms. Taylor votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes no. Ms. Vecchio. Ms. Vecchio votes yes. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes yes. President Lamar.
Yes.
President Lamar votes yes. 26-3, resolution passes.
Next item.
Item number 32, referral number 23-0056, restricting insurance recovery revenue from COVID-19 vaccines and amend the adopted 2023 operating budget.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Should be on item number 41. Item number 41, referral number 23-0065, authorizing license and operating agreement with Heritage Christian Services to operate Springdale Farm at Northampton Park.
Madam President, I would like to declare my interest. My daughter has a contract as a subcontractor with Heritage Christian.
Thank you, Legislator Colby.
That's noted, legislator.
Was that moved by Legislator Smith and seconded by Legislator Delahanty?
Yep.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 42, referral number 23-0066, amending Resolution 294 of 2020 as amended by Resolution 418 of 2021, authorizing, amending, and increasing contracts for provision of forensic pathology services to Monroe County Office of the Medical Examiner.
Moved by Legislator Keller, seconded by Legislator Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Legislator Smith, did you have?
That's okay. I
Yes,
did.
a question.
I just wanted to thank the medical examiner's office, including toxicology office, for their patience in cooperation over the last year, as many of us asked many questions in reference to the backlog. I commend their proactiveness and forethought they have for the 2023 year to help assist with backlog cases and new cases that are referred to them daily. I also want to thank them on behalf of the Monroe County families who look for answers during a very difficult time in their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Smith. Is there any other discussion? Now, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 43, referral number 23-0067, amending Resolution 338 of 2022, standard workday and reporting resolution for county elected and appointed officials for retirement credit purposes.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. There being no unfinished business, Legislator Brew. Thank you.